81. A small town by the sea, Luhe Caravan. High in the sky, a vast, blurry outline of a continent could be seen in the distance. Lu Chengsheng flew in that direction. Just after flying for the time it takes an incense stick to burn, a low voice echoed in Lu Chengsheng's ear, "Little brother, please stop. Would you be willing to come down to the sea surface and help me, Tian, with a small favor? Afterwards, I, Tian, will certainly repay you handsomely." At this moment, another voice chimed in, "Little brother, don't believe him. If you are willing to help me, Li, will offer up all my possessions." Lu Chengsheng looked down. Below, on the sea surface 2,000 to 3,000 meters down, the wreckage of a large ship drifted, with two figures, one yellow and one black, sitting on separate pieces of broken wood, facing each other. The sea around them was littered with many corpses, clearly indicating that a major battle had just taken place here. Both figures were in poor condition, covered in bloodstains, and their chi was very low. Seeing this, Lu Chengsheng sneered inwardly. According to the information from previous simulations, these two were undoubtedly deliberately feigning weakness, just waiting for an opportunity to deliver a fatal blow to the other. If he were truly blinded by greed and went down to help, he would undoubtedly become cannon fodder, disrupting the delicate balance between the two. So, he merely glanced from a distance in the sky, noted their appearances in his mind, and then flew away without looking back. Lu Chengsheng's decisive action surprised the two people on the sea. Running so fast, where was the basic trust between people? The distant continent looked close, but Lu Chengsheng only reached its coastline by noon the next day. Many fishermen were fishing by the sea. Recently, the sea had been calm with no storms, making it a good time for fishing. These fishermen showed no surprise when they saw Lu Chengsheng flying through the air. Although Dao Body realm martial artists were relatively rare to them, they would see one every 10 days to half a month, so it was not unusual. Lu Chengsheng did not linger on the shore but flew directly towards a nearby small coastal town. Upon arriving at the city gate, Lu Chengsheng exchanged some silver for square-holed copper coins with a passerby. After paying 10 coins for the entrance fee, he successfully entered the city. This city was not large, with a permanent population of only about 100,000. It was filled with rustic 2- or 3-story buildings, most of which were engaged in the seafood business. Lu Chengsheng wandered for 2 or 3 hours but could not find any healing items useful to him in the city. So, he inquired about larger nearby cities. He soon learned that the largest nearby city was called Jinling City, with a population of several million. It was neither a county town nor a prefectural city, but one of the most famous commercial cities in Zhang County. Upon hearing this, Lu Chengsheng immediately set Jinling City as his next destination. Firstly, he needed to find healing items, and secondly, he still had a large amount of resources in his storage ring that had not yet been sold. As a commercial city, Jinling City perfectly met both of his needs. Having determined his goal, he immediately set off. This time, he did not fly directly. The great Qin dynasty was teeming with experts. In the small coastal town earlier, he had already detected dozens of qi not weaker than his own, so he dared not be too ostentatious. Moreover, he was an unregistered person, and if he were discovered due to his high-profile actions, the consequences would not be good. Lu Chengsheng maintained an extremely low profile throughout his journey, but halfway, some unobservant mounted bandits tried to rob him. After he casually demonstrated a few moves, the young master of a passing merchant troupe witnessed his martial arts and was immediately amazed, inviting him to travel together. Upon learning that this, Luhe merchant troupe, was also headed to Jinling City, and that the young man named Lu Cheng was the young master of the entire Luhe merchant troupe, a standard local magnate, Lu Chengsheng half-heartedly agreed to join the troupe. "Brother Lu, for you to cultivate to the realm of an unsurpassed great-grand master at less than 20 years of age, even within the entire Zhang County, you are an outstanding young prodigy. In your lifetime, you might truly break through the 9 heavens and catch a glimpse of the human martial saint realm." Unsurpassed great-grand master was the great Qin dynasty's term for Dao Body realm martial artists. In a single county, they were considered formidable, but across the great Qin dynasty's 108 counties, they were not considered much. Only the Faxiong realm above Dao Body, which Lu Cheng referred to as the human martial saint, was a powerful expert not to be underestimated, even across the entire world. That was also a realm many people could never hope to reach in their lifetime. Lu Cheng, as the young master of the Luhe merchant troupe, was well-traveled and knowledgeable. Even so, in his eyes, Lu Changsheng, at the Tao body realm, possessed indescribable natural talent, far surpassing him, a playboy who wasn't even a grandmaster. He was definitely worth befriending. Brother Lu, you flatter me. Zhang County is full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers, my humble cultivation is truly not worth mentioning. Inside the carriage, Lu Changsheng smiled faintly, his gaze fixed outside the window. Even a small-scale Luhe merchant troop had several Tao body realm guards, and their captain was even at Tao body third heaven. Currently, Lu Changsheng was only at Tao body second heaven, and his serious injuries had not yet healed, so he could not exert even half of his strength. He wondered if, after recovering from his injuries, he could fight above his realm based on his previous foundation. Although he had obtained much information about the Great Qin dynasty from the demon sect leader Shi Jian's memories, it was mostly incomplete and differed greatly from the actual situation in Great Qin. For example, after arriving in Great Qin, he discovered that most martial artists here cultivated both internal and external skills, unlike the land of Absolute Zero, where most martial artists only cultivated internal skill. The Tao body lies in the transformation of the physical body, and internal skill can greatly accelerate this transformation, so the two are complementary and indispensable. Only specializing in one Tao would make breaking through the Tao body as difficult as ascending to heaven. However, in the land of Absolute Zero, the heaven and earth origin chi was sparse, making it almost impossible for martial artists to break through beyond innate, and cultivation resources were very scarce, which led them to take a shortcut. This was a difference caused by the real-world environment, which resulted in a huge gap in strength between martial artists of the same realm in the two places. Because Lu Changsheng cultivated both internal and external skills, he could easily achieve invincibility at the same realm in the land of Absolute Zero, and even fight above his realm. But upon arriving in the Great Qin dynasty, this advantage of his was greatly diminished, and he dared not lightly claim invincibility at the same realm. However, he believed this was only temporary. As long as he had some time to settle, he could still sweep away all the prodigies of the Great Qin dynasty. If one were to ask him why he had such confidence, his answer would be hard work. Heaven helps those who help themselves, diligent people are never let down. If self-discipline were added, it would be even more perfect. Oh, by the way, Brother Lu, may I borrow a few origin stones so I can cultivate on the journey? When we reach Jinling City, I will return them to you as soon as possible, Lu Changsheng said, cupping his hands. All the money he had recharged in the simulator, whether silver or origin stones, had already been used up during his transmigration through the Mist Fiend Sea. And now, there were still several days of travel to Jinling City, and he was itching to cultivate. Closing curly bracket. 82. The captain of the guard team, the third level of the Tao body. Origin stone. Lu Cheng was stunned for a moment, then said with a slight apology, I don't have any on me. Origin stones were generally only used by martial arts powerhouses above the Tao body realm. He wasn't even a grandmaster, so he indeed didn't carry such things. Seeing a hint of disappointment in Lu Changsheng's eyes, Lu Cheng gritted his teeth and said, Brother Lu, please wait. I'll be right back. With that, Lu Cheng left the carriage, got out of the cart, and borrowed from all the Tao body realm guards. Origin stones were very precious, but the young master's face still had to be given, and several people took out some origin stones, more or less. The old steward of the merchant troop did not say much when he saw this scene. These few origin stones were nothing to Luhe merchant troop, but the young master always liked to make friends with people of unknown origin, which was a big problem. If the other party was indeed a swindler, it would be good for the young master to gain some experience and lessons. Soon, Lu Cheng returned to the carriage with the 10 borrowed origin stones and handed them to Lu Changsheng. Lu Changsheng couldn't help but exclaim, Lu Cheng, this friend, is reliable. When there's trouble, he truly helps. After thanking Lu Changsheng recharged 9 of the origin stones, keeping one in his hand and pretending to cultivate. Lu Cheng, being tactful, did not disturb him further. One simulation consumes 3 gold. Do you want to proceed with the simulation immediately? Let's start. Speaking of which, this was Lu Changsheng's first simulation since coming to Great Qin, and he was a little excited. At 17, you endured countless hardships and finally arrived at the Great Qin dynasty. After some inquiries, you decided to go to Jinling City. On the way, you encountered the Luhe merchant troop and chose to join them. 5 days later, you finally arrived at Jinling City. Lu Cheng saw that you had nowhere to go, so he invited you to join the merchant troop's guard team. You could receive 1 origin stone and other cultivation resources every month. After hearing the conditions and considering that you were an unregistered resident, you agreed to Lu Cheng's recruitment. Lu Cheng was very happy and hosted a welcoming banquet for you that night. After joining the Lu He merchant troupe, with Lu Cheng's financial assistance, you purchased some valuable healing medicines, and your injuries rapidly improved. Half a month later, your injuries completely recovered, but Lu Cheng's father, Lu Xin, died mysteriously during an outing. Upon Lu Xin's death, his younger brother, the second boss of the merchant troupe, Lu Shang, began to force Lu Cheng to hand over control of the merchant troupe, but Lu Cheng firmly refused. Lu Shang, mindful of his reputation, did not directly break ties. Instead, he privately tried to win you over, hoping to use your identity as Lu Cheng's close friend to secretly poison him. If successful, Lu Shang would give you 3 times your usual monthly salary. You feigned agreement, but on the other hand, you found Lu Cheng and teamed up with him to set up a hangman banquet, where you killed Lu Shang on the spot. Immediately after, you purged Lu Shang's forces within the merchant troupe. From then on, Lu Cheng became the sole decision-maker of the Lu He merchant troupe. After this incident, you became Lu Cheng's most trusted person. He originally wanted to promote you directly to captain of the guard team, but you refused, citing insufficient cultivation and a desire to avoid complications. So, Lu Cheng first promoted you to vice captain. However, you publicly received the vice captain's monthly salary, but secretly received a captain-level monthly salary. Lu Cheng also hoped that you could break through soon to help him completely control the guard team. At 18, you diligently cultivated the 4 seasons Dao diagram, and your strength slightly improved. At 20, you break through to Dao Body Realm 2nd Heaven middle stage. At 22, the Tianji Pavilion's extensive search for the demon star caused some ripples in Great Qin. At 24, you break through to Dao Body Realm 2nd Heaven late stage. At 25, under your secret strategizing, the Lu He merchant troupe's business grew larger and larger, and Lu Cheng privately doubled your monthly salary. At 27, with double the previous resources, you successfully reached the peak of Dao Body Realm 2nd Heaven, and Lu Cheng privately increased your resources significantly again. At 30, with Lu Cheng's utmost assistance, you successfully entered Dao Body Realm 3rd Heaven. After consolidating your realm, you began to challenge Wang Zhen, the captain of the guard team. Wang Zhen was at Dao Body Realm 3rd Heaven middle stage, but because his foundation was not as profound as yours, he ultimately lost after a tough battle. Afterward, you smoothly became the captain of the guard team. At 31, you initially established your authority within the guard team. Wang Zhen, who had been demoted to vice captain, was completely obedient to you. At 32, the Lu He merchant troupe's business was too prosperous, attracting the envy of many, and thus it suffered suppression from various parties. To protect himself, Lu Cheng married the daughter of a Dao Body Realm 6th Heaven expert in Jinling City. On the wedding night, due to the bride's excessive weight, Lu Cheng had 3 ribs broken. The bride, seeing this, disdainfully said, "Weakling, are you even capable?" For the sake of the merchant troupe's business, Lu Cheng chose to endure humiliation. You privately gave him a thumbs up, calling him a true man. At 33, the resources provided by the merchant troupe were no longer sufficient to support your rapid increase in strength, so you redirected your attention to the storage ring. You began to inquire everywhere about how to freely use the storage ring without harming your divine soul. Soon after, Lu Cheng's father-in-law told you that to freely use stored items, you must have the strength of Dao Body Realm 7th Heaven. Besides that, you could also cultivate mental secret arts or consume heaven and earth treasure that enhance soul power, to make your divine soul strength comparable to Dao Body Realm 7th Heaven. After learning the methods, you began to search for mental secret arts or heaven and earth treasure that enhance soul power. At 35, you break through to Dao Body Realm 3rd Heaven middle stage. At 37, Lu Cheng was going into seclusion to break through to the Dao Body Realm, and the Lu He merchant troupe was left entirely under your management. At 38, you received news that a mental secret art that enhances soul power would appear at the year-end auction of the Wronged Auction House in Jinling City. Subsequently, you prepared for over half a year and, at the end of the year, entered the auction with the 1,800 origin stones you had raised. At the auction, you learned that this mental secret art was called Divine Forging Art, with a total of 9 forges. Each completed forge would increase soul power by a significant margin. You quickly participated in the bidding, but because the mental secret art was too precious, it was ultimately bought for 2,300 origin stones, and you missed out. After the auction ended, you left the wronged auction house. As you passed through a small alley, a group of masked men in black rushed out, surrounded and killed you, then snatched the origin stones from your body and swaggered away. Before you died, you knocked off the mask of one of them and discovered that it was none other than Wang Zhen, who had been demoted to vice captain. You died with your eyes wide open. Was I betrayed by my own people? It seems this Wang Zhen cannot be kept next time. Lu Chengsheng shook his head. What he could tolerate the least was being betrayed by his own people. This Wang Zhen, whose captain position he had taken, likely held a grudge and sought revenge, and that auction was undoubtedly a perfect opportunity. However, this Lu Cheng was truly reliable. He actually entrusted the merchant troupe to Lu Chengsheng's management while in seclusion, rather than to his own relatives. Such trust was rare and precious in this deceitful world. 83. Can a thin dog do it? 7 Forgings of the God Forging Technique. In this simulator run, besides the breakthrough in cultivation realm, the most precious item was probably the divine forging art. Based on the speed of breakthrough in the simulator, reaching 7th heaven of Tao body realm in one go is difficult. In comparison, using a secret manual to enhance divine soul strength might be a shortcut. As long as he could reach a level comparable to Tao body realm 7th heaven, Lu Chengsheng wouldn't have to worry about using the storage ring damaging his divine soul. At that time, the resources within the storage ring would be his to use, which would lead to another small surge in his progress. Simulation ended. You can retain one of the following. 1. Cultivation realm at 38 years old. 2. Cultivation experience at 38 years old. I choose 1. Immediately, the power within Lu Chengsheng's physical body began to increase steadily, quickly reaching a limit. However, this limit did not stop him for too long. In just a few breaths, it was broken through by an even stronger force, bringing his physical body to a new level. After reaching the new level, his physical body did not stop transforming. Instead, it gained a significant amount of power before finally stopping. Middle stage of Tao body realm 3rd heaven, achieved. The breakthrough in cultivation not only brought an increase in strength, but also healed most of his injuries during the physical body's transformation. The remaining minor injuries were also recovering rapidly, and he believed they would be completely healed before arriving at Jinling City. This was great, it even saved him the money for medicinal pills. Brother Lu, did you just have a breakthrough? Lu Cheng looked astonished. You've only been cultivating for less than the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, yet your qi has surged. Lu Cheng had lived for so long, but he had never seen, or even heard of, such an outrageous breakthrough speed. Yes, I was actually only a hair's breadth away from Tao body realm 3rd heaven. If it weren't for the primal stones Brother Lu gave me, I probably would have had to spend several more days to break through. Lu Chengsheng deliberately raised his voice. This was not only for Lu Cheng to hear, but also for the other members of the merchant troupe, especially the Tao body realm guards, to prevent them from overthinking. Upon hearing this, Lu Cheng's look of astonishment faded considerably. At the same time, his intention to recruit Lu Chengsheng diminished greatly. Originally, he had heard that Lu Chengsheng was a loose cultivator and had considered inviting him to join the Luhe merchant troupe. Now, Lu Chengsheng's casual attitude towards breakthrough made him realize that his own merchant troupe probably couldn't accommodate such a big fish. He would surely go to a broader place. Lu Chengsheng was unaware of Lu Cheng's thoughts. After chatting with him for a while, he used the excuse of consolidating his realm and continued to use the simulator. Do you want to use the simulator? Each use consumes 5 gold coins. Yes. At 17, you followed the Luhe merchant troupe to Jinling City. Seeing that Lu Cheng did not actively invite you, you volunteered to join the merchant troupe, and Lu Cheng gladly agreed. Half a month later, Lu Cheng's father died mysteriously. The second in command, Lu Shang, began to usurp power. Most of the guard team also sided with Lu Shang. At a moment of extreme crisis, you stepped forward and drove away Lu Shang with absolute strength. Lu Cheng was very grateful to you and directly appointed you as the captain of the guard team, with a monthly salary double that of the previous Wang Zhen. After the storm subsided, the merchant troupe returned to normal. You began to act in secret. Soon after, Lu Shang, Wang Zhen, and others all died mysteriously. Some suspected you were responsible, but no one dared to question you. At 18, under your iron-fisted methods, the Luhe merchant troupe became a solid entity under your control. On the surface, Lu Cheng was the merchant troop's spokesperson, but in reality, all the high-ranking internal members knew that you were the true decision-maker of the merchant troop. Lu Cheng complained, saying, "Why do I feel like I'm working for you in my own merchant troop?" You smiled without speaking. At 20, the commercial territory of the Lu He merchant troop expanded several times. At 21, you break through to the late stage of Dao Body Realm 3rd Heaven. At 22, the Tianji Pavilion's bounty for the Demon Star caused a stir. At 25, you break through to the peak of Dao Body Realm 3rd Heaven. At 28, the Lu He merchant troop's scale became too large, attracting covetous eyes from all sides. You knew it was time to find a backer, so you asked Lu Cheng if he wanted a wife. Upon hearing who the wife you were introducing was, Lu Cheng's face darkened, and he said directly, "If you want to marry her, you marry her, don't come and harm me." You reluctantly had to find another way. Lu Cheng, this guy actually isn't acting like a true man anymore. Lu Chengsheng was somewhat surprised. Perhaps being the behind-the-scenes decision-maker had made him lose some of his initiative. However, this was unavoidable. With strength, who would still be willing to live by relying on others' charity? Becoming the merchant troop's decision-maker not only allowed him to control all resources but also enabled him to prepare thoroughly for future auctions, offering too many benefits. The only downside was probably that Lu Cheng didn't want to suffer twice. Since he was unwilling, he could only find another method. After all, he had always treated him as a friend, not just a mere tool. You must not bully a friend's wife. You definitely wouldn't marry the one you introduced to Lu Cheng, so you set your sights on other women. Coincidentally, the Jinling city lord was recruiting a son-in-law for his youngest daughter at this time. After you displayed your strength, the city lord was overjoyed, saying that you had the potential to become a human martial saint in the future, and quickly agreed to the marriage. Of course, the city lord's agreement was only the first step. Next, your background had to be investigated to ensure it was clean. However, over the years, you had already perfectly disguised your false identity, and even the city lord's mansion's secret agents found nothing amiss. Thus, your marriage to the city lord's daughter proceeded smoothly. At 29, you successfully entered Dao Body Realm 4th Heaven by utilizing the enormous resources collected during the wedding banquet. The city lord was very happy after learning of your breakthrough and pulled you into a drunken celebration. At 30, leveraging your identity as the city lord's son-in-law, your business grew larger and larger. At 32, you break through to the middle stage of Dao Body Realm 4th Heaven. At 35, you became the richest man in Jinling City. At 37, you break through to the late stage of Dao Body Realm 4th Heaven. At 38, you successfully bid for the secret manual, Divine Forging Art, at the wronged auction house for a price of 2,400 primal stones. At 39, your Divine Forging Art officially reached the Rumen stage. At 40, with the help of a large amount of resources, your Divine Forging Art progressed rapidly, completing 3 forges consecutively within a year. At 42, your Divine Forging Art completed 7 forges. At this time, your soul power was no weaker than a Dao Body Realm 7th Heaven expert. You could use the storage ring at will, and even for you, the richest man in Jinling City, the resources inside were still extremely precious. Especially the secret manuals, medicinal pills, and weapons within, which are difficult to buy even with money. However, most of the secret manuals and weapons require the Faxiong realm to cultivate or use. What is most useful to you now is the soul-nourishing pill among the medicinal pills. Soul-nourishing pills have the effect of nourishing the divine soul. Any single pill can sell for over 1,000 primal stones, and there are 8 bottles in the storage ring, each containing 10 soul-nourishing pills, totaling 80 pills. Good heavens, it turns out the primal stones inside were the least valuable. Seeing this, Lu Chengsheng clicked his tongue. All this time, his biggest motivation for opening the storage ring had been the thousands of primal stones inside. Now, it seemed his perspective was too narrow. A single bottle of soul-nourishing pills was worth over 1,000 primal stones. The total value of everything inside the ring was immeasurable. Moreover, the simulator said that most of the secret manuals and weapons inside could only be used by those in the Faxiong realm, which meant that the ring's owner was most likely a human martial saint of the Faxiong realm before his death. That demon sect leader Shi Jian truly had incredible luck. He actually picked up a discarded treasure from a human martial saint. But all these good things now belong to Lu Chengsheng. 84. Money moves people's hearts, and mental power is released. The demon sect leader is such a good person. If I don't erect a monument to thank him someday, it would be inexcusable. With the help of the divine pill, your divine forging art progressed rapidly. At 43, your divine forging art completed its last 2 forges, and your divine soul power was comparable to a Tao body 9th heaven master. At 44, you broke through to the Tao body 4th heaven peak, only a step away from the Tao body 5th heaven. At 45, Zhang County suffered 7 days of torrential rain, and after the rain, floods were everywhere. Incited by those with ulterior motives, large numbers of flood victims began to gather in revolt. Soon after, a 300,000-strong army of refugees marched directly towards Jinling City. To quell the rebellion, the city lord's mansion expended a great deal of manpower and resources, and even a large quantity of supplies from your merchant troop were temporarily requisitioned. Amidst the turbulent times, you deeply felt the shortage of cultivation resources, so you secretly began to sell the rare treasures in your storage ring. At 46, the rebellion gradually subsided. When you sensed the opportunity for a breakthrough, you discovered you had been poisoned. Afterward, your father-in-law appeared, dragged you into a secret chamber, and interrogated you about the origin of those rare treasures. After many days of severe torture, you finally revealed their origin and hoped he would spare you for his daughter's face, but the city lord was still worried that the news would be leaked by you, and he ultimately twisted your neck. You died. As expected, wealth moves people's hearts. Lu Chengsheng sighed slightly. Their father-in-law and son-in-law relationship had been so harmonious before, but in the face of immense profit, they still turned on each other so easily. Lu Chengsheng didn't know what rare treasures his simulator self had sold to make the city lord of such a grand city so envious that he would betray him in the end. However, this incident served as a reminder to him. Before having sufficient strength, the storage ring and its contents must never be easily exposed. Aside from the betrayal by the city lord, his father-in-law, Lu Chengsheng gained quite a lot from this simulation. Not only did his cultivation reach the 4th heaven peak, but his divine soul power was even comparable to a 9 heavens expert. This also meant he could freely use the storage ring. Even if the items in the storage ring couldn't be used freely, the thousands of origin chi stones could alleviate his urgent needs. Simulation ended. You can retain one of the following. 1. The cultivation realm at 46 years old. 2. The cultivation experience at 46 years old. Lu Chengsheng did not make a choice immediately. He was still with the merchant troop, and if he were to break through again in such a short time, he would probably scare Lu Cheng to death. It was better to keep a low profile. After walking for a while longer, the merchant troop stopped to rest. Lu Chengsheng excused himself to relieve himself, and after moving away from the troop, he found a secluded spot to make his breakthrough. Boom! The origin chi fluctuations from the breakthrough spread far and wide. Several Tao body realm guards of the Lu He merchant troop, 10 li away, seemed to sense something and looked in the direction of Lu Chengsheng's breakthrough. This commotion, someone is breaking through to the Tao body 4th heaven. Wang Zhen, the captain of the merchant troop's guard, showed envy in his eyes. He had been in the Tao body 3rd heaven for 10 years, and had only barely reached the 3rd heaven middle stage. Breaking through to the 4th heaven was still a distant prospect. Everyone only thought that an unfamiliar expert was breaking through, and no one suspected Lu Chengsheng. Breaking through 2 heavens in one day was too contrary to common sense. Even the favored children of those aristocratic sects would probably find it difficult to achieve. After a good while, the commotion from the breakthrough gradually subsided. On the other side, Lu Chengsheng also opened his eyes. 2 rays of brilliant light shot out dozens of feet before slowly dissipating. This time, he didn't just simply break through to the 4th heaven, he directly reached the 4th heaven peak, touching the bottleneck of the 5th heaven. His physical body's strength also increased by more than 2-fold. However, the biggest change was not his physical body, but his divine soul. In fact, every time a martial artist's strength breaks through, it feeds back to the divine soul. The breakthrough of each heaven for a great Grand Master in the Tao body realm is particularly noticeable in the enhancement of the divine soul. When one reaches the 7th heaven, quantitative change finally leads to qualitative change, causing the divine soul to undergo a minor transformation. After the transformation, mental energy can be externally released. Generally, a great Grand Master who has just entered the 7th heaven can externally release mental energy for about 10 meters. However, Lu Chengsheng had already completed the 9th forge of divine forging art in the simulation. Although his strength was in the fourth heaven, his divine soul power was already comparable to a 9 heavens master. His mental energy could be externally released for about 300 meters. Even if he closed his eyes, everything within this 300-meter radius would be deeply imprinted in his mind like a 3D map, and he could even penetrate more than 10 meters underground. It's starting to feel more and more like cultivating immortals. Lu Chengsheng smiled slightly and took out the purple gold storage ring. His mental energy effortlessly entered it. Inside the ring, there was a space the size of a room. The first thing that caught Lu Chengsheng's eye was the pile of golden origin chi stones. Lu Chengsheng roughly counted them, and there were about 3,800 of them. Lu Chengsheng didn't hesitate and directly took out 3,000 of them, recharging them into the simulation system, leaving the remaining 800 plus for backup. Then he looked at the 5 books: 4 Symbols Mysterious Skill, Peacock King Sutra, Pill Scripture Annotations, Compendium of Spiritual Plants, and Great 5 Elements Sword Art. 4 Symbols Mysterious Skill. Lu Chengsheng's heart stirred. He took it out and flipped through it, finding that it only described methods for condensing the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, and black tortoise divine beast dharmas, but contained no content on Tao body realm cultivation. In fact, Tao body realm cultivation isn't that complicated, it's simply using breakthrough secret methods to continuously transform the physical body. It's just that different breakthrough secret methods will vary in efficiency and approach. As one of the 3 teachings in 6 sects, the 10,000 manifestations sect's internal breakthrough secret methods should definitely be much better than Lu Chengsheng's 4 Seasons Tao diagram. The absence of this content was a great regret. Lu Chengsheng then thought of the withered cicada method. Strictly speaking, the withered cicada method is also a breakthrough secret method, but its efficiency is too low, only about 1/10 of the 4 Seasons Tao diagram. Reverend Cheng Guang's comprehension ability to comprehend such a secret method in the land of absolute zero was truly astonishing. Due to the limited rest time of the merchant troupe, Lu Chengsheng did not examine the remaining 4 books in detail. After putting the 4 Symbols Mysterious Skill back, Lu Chengsheng returned to the merchant troupe. When Lu Cheng saw Lu Chengsheng again, he couldn't tell if it was an illusion, but he always felt that Lu Chengsheng was much stronger than before. Seeing Lu Cheng's uncertain gaze, Lu Chengsheng thought to himself that it was time to find a method to conceal his qi. Even if he tried his best to conceal his qi now, people would still notice something unusual. If he were to break through 1 or 2 more times, it would definitely be impossible to hide. He didn't want to cause any complications because of this. Continue the simulation. Cost 10 money. Simulation begins. At 17, you are already a Tao body 4th heaven martial artist, only a step away from the 5th heaven. 4.5 days later, you arrived in Jinling City with the Luhe merchant troupe. Hearing that you wanted a qi concealment cultivation technique, Lu Cheng recommended the Boundless Pavilion, which specializes in cultivation technique business. 85. Xingluo Sect's Secret Order, Change the Future. The Boundless Pavilion is located on the commercial street in the eastern part of the outer city. Each floor of the pavilion is filled with a dazzling array of cultivation techniques, totaling 5 floors. You ultimately chose a secret technique called Meridian Severing and Qi Concealment Art on the 2nd floor and purchased it for 500 yuan stones. Afterward, you prepared to find an inn to stay in, but you discovered that most inns required identification. Left with no choice, you could only temporarily stay at a black inn that did not require identification. The black inn was a mixed bag, filled with all sorts of dubious characters. Not long after you checked in, someone tried to extort you. After you firmly established your authority, no one dared to provoke you for a while. For a period after that, you lived a secluded life, diligently cultivating the Meridian Severing and Qi Concealment Art in your room. 2 days later, your Meridian Severing and Qi Concealment Art reached major achievement. Even if you disguised your qi as that of an ordinary person, others would find it difficult to detect anything unusual. Just as you were preparing to check out and leave, a murder occurred at the Black Inn. A young couple living next door to you was poisoned to death. The woman was a young miss from a prominent family who had eloped. This murder quickly drew the attention of the mysterious Black Guard, and you became one of the suspects. Because you had no identification and could not explain your origins, the mysterious Black Guard quickly detained you. 3 days later, the mysterious blackguard successfully apprehended the true culprit. It turned out that everything was done by a young master from an aristocratic family who was engaged to the young miss from the prominent family. He felt it was too shameful for his fiancée to elope with someone else, so he secretly ordered the two to be poisoned to death. After the truth came to light, you were released, but before you left, the mysterious blackguard demanded that you engrave your divine soul aura for future management. You wanted to refuse, but they were numerous, and the mysterious blackguard commander was a great expert of the Tao body ninth heaven. You had no choice but to comply. It's the mysterious blackguard again. Lu Chengsheng frowned. He remembered that when he first arrived in Great Qin in the simulator, it was because he left his divine soul aura with the mysterious blackguard that the experts from Tianji Pavilion quickly came looking for him. The mysterious blackguard and Tianji Pavilion must have some kind of connection. After leaving the mysterious blackguard station, you felt uneasy, unsure if Tianji Pavilion would come looking for you. You dared not gamble on luck, so you left Jinling City that very day, preparing to find a secluded place to hide. As you traveled for 4 or 5 days, passing through a place called Shaoyang Mountain, you encountered a group of people chasing a human martial saint of the Faxiong realm. That human martial saint was cornered at this point, his hair disheveled as he laughed loudly. What I cannot obtain, you all shall not obtain either. After speaking, he destroyed the spatial ring in his hand, and the items inside fell into the spatial turbulence. Seeing this, the group of people relentlessly pursuing him had bloodshot eyes. After jointly attacking and killing the martial saint, they reduced him to ashes before leaving in anger. You were very surprised by this and, after inquiring along the way, learned that the human martial saint was named Tuo Badao. He had accidentally obtained the 9th star Luo sect secret decree, which had never appeared before, from the Mist Fiend Sea. After the news leaked, he was pursued by other martial saints. Who knew he would rather destroy it than hand over the secret decree? Star Luo sect secret decree. Lu Chengsheng's heart stirred. The Star Luo sect was one of the 10 top ancient sects. The purpose of this secret decree was unknown, but it must be related to the Star Luo sect, otherwise, it would not attract so many martial saints. Just as you were about to inquire about the purpose of the secret decree, a female devil head from the heavenly demon sect passing by abducted you, using your essence to heal her injuries. Ultimately, you were drained of all your essence by the female devil head, and you died. Good heavens, this is the first time I've encountered such a way to die. I wonder what that female devil head was like. Lu Chengsheng quickly realized his thoughts had strayed and immediately expelled these distracting thoughts from his mind. A mere female devil head would not disturb his Tao heart. Simulation ended. You can retain one of the following. 1. The cultivation realm at 17 years old. 2. The cultivation experience at 17 years old. This time, the survival period was too short, with only achievements in meridian severing and chi concealment art. Lu Chengsheng naturally chose 2. Soon, a large amount of experience regarding the meridian severing and chi concealment art appeared in Lu Chengsheng's mind. It turned out that this method involved sealing one's chi meridians to achieve the goal of concealing one's chi. The more chi meridians were sealed, the weaker one's own chi became. Lu Chengsheng immediately sealed 1/5 of his chi meridians. Now, the strength he displayed was only at the Tao body realm 3rd heaven. Lu Cheng, sitting opposite him, saw Lu Chengsheng's chi suddenly drop a notch and thought he had gone astray in his cultivation, but seeing his rosy complexion and no abnormalities, he then guessed that he was cultivating some kind of chi concealing secret art. But why conceal his chi? If Lu Cheng had Lu Chengsheng's level of cultivation, he would wish for everyone to know he was a genius. Lu Chengsheng was exceptionally talented yet so low-key. Perhaps this was the so-called mindset of a strong individual. Not arrogant or impatient, working hard in secret, and then astonishing everyone. Lu Chengsheng opened his eyes and saw Lu Cheng staring at him with admiration. Although he didn't know what this guy was imagining again, to prevent him from overthinking, Lu Chengsheng immediately asked, "Brother Lu, do you know what the Star Luo sect secret decree is?" Lu Cheng smiled and said, "Since Brother Lu has this question, you must not be from the counties and prefectures around the Mist Fiend Sea. Please enlighten me, Brother Lu." Lu Chengsheng cupped his hands. This Star Luo sect secret decree is not much of a secret in the areas around the Mist Fiend Sea. In fact, ever since the Star Luo sect was destroyed in the ancient war 10,000 years ago, a Star Luo sect secret decree would appear in the Mist Fiend Sea every 1 or 2,000 years. It is said that each Star Luo sect secret decree is part of the key to opening the Star Luo sect's legacy secret realm. As long as 9 Star Luo sect secret decrees are activated simultaneously, the Star Luo sect's legacy secret realm will open. 10,000 years have passed, and only 8-star Luo sect secret decrees have appeared so far. The 9th one is unknown when it will appear. I hope I can witness this ancient legacy appearing in my lifetime. Lu Cheng's eyes showed longing and yearning. The appearance of such an ancient legacy would certainly be a world-shaking event, and it would have absolutely nothing to do with him, the young owner of a small merchant caravan. But this was a legend passed down through generations. Even being a spectator would be enough to be proud of. You probably won't see it, Lu Chengsheng muttered to himself. According to the future simulated in the simulator, in about half a month, the 9th secret decree would be thrown into the deep spatial turbulence by a human martial saint named Tuo Badao, making it difficult to reappear in the world. If Lu Chengsheng could break through to human martial saint within this half-month, he might be able to change the future. However, Lu Chengsheng felt it would be very difficult, holding only 80% confidence in it, with the remaining 20% left to fate. As for now, let's continue simulating. He had just topped up 3,000 yuan stones, and only one simulation was clearly not enough. 86. The 6th level of the Tao body, the qualification to receive inheritance. Consume 10 gold, simulation begins. At 17, you followed the Luhe merchant troupe to Jinling City. To be safe, you decided to stay with the merchant troupe. At 18, you became the behind-the-scenes decision-maker for the merchant troupe. At 20, the merchant troupe's scale tripled. At 23, you broke through to Tao body realm 5th heaven. At 28, you married the city lord's daughter, becoming the city lord's son-in-law. At 32, you broke through to Tao body realm 5th heaven middle stage. At 45, Zhang County suffered a flood, and the displaced people gathered to revolt, their momentum vast. To quell the rebellion, the city lord appropriated the merchant troupe's supplies. Even though your cultivation resources were greatly reduced, you never exposed your storage ring. Instead, you convincingly lived a hard life, and the city lord did not suspect you. At 46, you broke through to Tao body realm 5th heaven late stage. In the same year, the rebellion gradually subsided. At 48, Emperor Ganming of the Great Qin dynasty passed away, and Emperor Zhaowu ascended the throne. At 49, Emperor Zhaowu began to purge the eunuch faction of Wei Taixian. As the Jinling city lord had once acknowledged Wei Taixian as his godfather, he was implicated and ordered by Emperor Zhaowu to have his entire family executed. Upon hearing the news, you fled with your wife and children overnight. 3 months later, disguised as beggars, you were discovered by the mysterious Black Guard. You died under the Black Sparrow blade of Yao Guang, the Jinling city mysterious Black Guard's 1,000th household. You can escape the 1st, but not the 15th. Lu Chengsheng felt a bit emotional. Previously, he was harmed by the Jinling city lord due to the leaked rare treasures, but this time, he died due to being implicated by the Jinling city lord. Should he try exploring other places next time? Lu Chengsheng pondered this question seriously. Soon after, he once again used the excuse of needing to urinate to go to an even farther place than before to make a breakthrough. Upon his return, Lu Cheng excitedly told him that he had encountered another great grandmaster breaking through nearby, saying his luck was unparalleled. Lu Chengsheng smiled politely, but mumbled to himself, the commotion from the breakthrough was getting bigger and bigger, it seemed he would have to run to an even farther place next time. Continue, this time I'll go to other places to seek opportunity. At 23, you arrived in Beiyuan County, just as the northern barbarians were plundering south. You were surrounded and killed by a small barbarian army. At 20, you arrived at the mountain gate of the Astounding Sword sect, one of the 3 teachings and 6 sects, hoping to become a disciple. Your aptitude was decent, but your origins were unknown, so the Astounding Sword sect did not accept you. On your way down the mountain, you were attacked and killed by a group of black-clothed individuals. At 25, you arrived in Heluo County. Because you unintentionally offended a young lady of the Heluo Li clan, you were slain by her suitor. Lu Chengsheng had intended to venture out and see if there was a more suitable place for him to cultivate, but instead, he was met with a triple critical hit. Forget it, it's too dangerous outside. I'll just stay in Jinling City. Lu Chengsheng's current strength was by no means weak, but in the entire Great Qin dynasty, it was only at a mid to upper level. Martial artists naturally like to fight at the drop of a hat, so venturing out was indeed too risky for him. I'll stay in Jinling City until I reach the Faxiang realm before going out. Lu Chengsheng secretly resolved that he could still live stably for several decades in Jinling City, but going to the outside world, death was like a sword hanging over his head, ready to fall at any moment. Consume 30 gold, simulation begins. At 17, you arrived in Jinling City. At 18, you became the behind-the-scenes manager of the Luhe merchant troupe. At 20, the Luhe merchant troupe's business grew larger and larger, attracting the envy of many competitors in the city. Someone sent assassins to kill Lu Chang, but you stopped them. Competitors began to realize that the Luhe merchant troupe had a mysterious expert backing it, and targeting decreased significantly. At 24, you broke through to Dao Body Realm 5th Heaven Peak. At 28, you became the son-in-law of the Jinling City Lord. At 33, you successfully entered Dao Body Realm 6th Heaven. Upon hearing the news, the City Lord held a grand banquet for you. At the banquet, many martial Dao experts said that you would surely become a human martial saint in the future. At 35, utilizing the power of the City Lord's mansion, you became the wealthiest person in Jinling City. At 44, you broke through to Dao Body Realm 6th Heaven Middle Stage. At 45, Zhang County suffered a great flood, with many displaced people. At 48, Emperor Ganming passed away, and Emperor Zhao ascended the throne. In the same year, you found an excuse to go out to purchase goods, took all the primal stones from the Luhe merchant troupe, and disappeared. 3 months later, the Jinling City Lord issued a missing person announcement, searching everywhere for information about you. Half a year later, you were still nowhere to be found. The Jinling City Lord and your wife and children believed you might have been killed. By this time, you had already arrived in Danyang County, tens of thousands of miles away, and were living in seclusion in a deep mountain. At 49, Emperor Zhao began to purge the eunuch faction of Wei Taixian. The Jinling City Lord was implicated and his entire family was executed. You heard this news while out purchasing food, and you sighed with endless regret. At 52, you continued to live in seclusion in the deep mountains, and your strength improved. At 53, you broke through to 6th Heaven Late Stage. At 66, you broke through to 6th Heaven Peak, and most of your resources were also consumed. At 67, due to a lack of cultivation resources, your strength improvement slowed significantly. Just as you were troubled by this, you suddenly heard the news of the Star Luo sect legacy opening. So, after disguising yourself, you rushed overnight towards the Mist Fiend Sea, the place where the legacy opened. At this time, because of the Star Luo sect legacy, the Great Qin was in turmoil, and countless powerhouses had gathered here. You even saw several Thunder Tribulation martial god outside the Legacy secret realm. To obtain the Star Luo sect legacy, one must accept the test set by the Star Luo sect's powerful expert back then. However, only prodigy whose bone age is within 20 years and whose realm is no lower than Dao Body realm are qualified to participate in the test. At this time, you are already 67 years old and cannot even enter the secret realm door. Upon learning that you were not qualified to obtain the legacy, you were extremely frustrated, thinking how great it would have been if the legacy secret realm had opened 50 years ago. Unfortunately, there is no Hu Wei Yao in this world. As you were about to leave, a Tianji Pavilion expert appeared before you. He marveled, "I didn't expect that 50 years have passed, and your strength, the demon star in the ancestral master's mouth, is actually so unbearable. It seems the ancestral master can also make mistakes." After speaking, he slapped you to death with one palm. After reading, Chen Changsheng took a deep breath. There was a lot of information in this simulation. He had thought that the Star Luo sect legacy would not have a chance to appear, but unexpectedly, it suddenly appeared 50 years later. By then, he had already lost the qualification for the legacy. As one of the 10 top sect of ancient times, the Star Luo sect legacy even startled many Thunder Tribulation martial god. And what kind of existence were Thunder Tribulation martial god? Shi Jian had little memory of Thunder Tribulation martial god, but he had personally witnessed the demon sect leader, who was a Thunder Tribulation martial god, make a move. With just a casual strike, he destroyed a large city with over 1 million people. 87. Deputy Captain of Xuanyi Guard, the 9th heaven of the Taoist body. It could be said that a Thunder Tribulation martial god is a walking nuclear weapon, already the ceiling of power in the Great Qin dynasty. With so many powerhouses at the pinnacle of strength vying for the Star Luo sect legacy, its preciousness is self-evident. Looks like I have to take a gamble. Lu Chengsheng originally had no great obsession with the 9th Star Luo sect secret decree, but who knew that accepting the legacy trial had an age limit? Now he had no choice but to go all out. There was only half a month until the secret decree on Shaoyang Mountain appeared, and after accounting for travel time, he had even fewer days left. Then let's set a small goal: break through to the Faxiong realm within 10 days. Taking advantage of a break in the caravan, Lu Chengsheng accepted the strength of a Dao body 6th heaven peak and began simulating again. Open black lens bracket. At 45, you break through to Dao body 7th heaven. At 56, you were unexpectedly caught in a conspiracy while out purchasing and were silenced and died. Close black lens bracket. Comma. Open black lens bracket. At 53, you break through to Dao body 8th heaven. At 67, the Star Luo sect legacy appeared, and countless experts flocked to it. You were discovered by a passing heavenly demon sect expert and died after having all your vital essence drained. Close black lens bracket. Comma. Open black lens bracket. At 41, you break through to Dao body 8th heaven peak. At 45, you went out and somehow offended someone, and were poisoned to death. Close black lens bracket. Comma. Open black lens bracket. At 28, you became the son-in-law of Jinling City's city lord. Your martial arts aptitude alarmed the mysterious Black Guard. Yao Guang, a mysterious Black Guard 1000 household in Jinling City, found you and hoped you would join the mysterious Black Guard, otherwise, he would thoroughly investigate your true identity. You had no choice but to agree. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. After joining the mysterious Black Guard, Yao Guang forged a convincing identity document for you and used it as leverage to make you accumulate wealth madly for him. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. At 46, you officially entered Dao body 9th heaven and became a mysterious Black Guard vice 1000 household. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Yao Guang's apprehension towards you deepened, and he began to suppress you with various methods. However, over the years, he also had many weaknesses fall into your hands, so he only dared to act maliciously in secret and did not dare to openly tear off his facade with you. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. At 48, the new Great Qin Emperor ascended the throne and appointed his trusted confidant as the new mysterious Black Guard commander. The mysterious Black Guard underwent a major reshuffle. You and Yao Guang, who had been locked in a power struggle for years due to factional disputes, were both imprisoned at the same time, even in the same cell. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Half a year later, Yao Guang successfully got out of prison using his connections in the imperial court, while you became his scapegoat, dying unjustly in prison. Close black lens bracket. Finally, Dao body 9th heaven. Lu Chengsheng breathed a sigh of relief. In the past few days, he had been chatting with Lu Cheng on the road while continuously simulating using the simulator. As his strength increased, the amount of gold thread required for each simulation also increased. So far, he had used up all 3,000 origin stones he had recharged and had also taken out another 500 origin stones from his storage ring to recharge, finally reaching Dao body 9th heaven. Using the excuse of needing to urinate, Lu Chengsheng went out to break through and then returned to the caravan. And what was most discussed in the caravan at this time was someone else's breakthrough. Brother Lu, in just a few days, I've encountered other people break through 7 or 8 times. Why is it so easy for others to break through, but so difficult for me? Lu Cheng felt a bit defeated after this journey. This was his first time doing business away from home, and he thought everyone outside was like this, breakthrough as easy as eating and drinking. In contrast, he was already 18 and not even a grandmaster. It seemed he was indeed not cut out for martial arts. Brother Lu, your family does not lack martial arts resources. What you lack is only effort. If you are willing to put all your energy into martial arts, I believe you will achieve great things in the future. Lu Chengsheng comforted him. These were all his experiences, and he believed they would be helpful to Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng. Every time he complained, Lu Chengsheng would bring up his effort theory. Lu Cheng had tried hard before, but whether he tried or not, his strength remained the same. For him, the only way to increase his strength was through the accumulation of years. Lu Chengsheng saw that he hadn't listened and was about to give him another pep talk when a cheer suddenly came from outside the carriage. We've arrived at Jinling City. Have we reached our destination? Lu Chengsheng, in the carriage, brightened, pulled open the curtain, and saw a magnificent giant city appear in his field of vision. The first impression Jinling City gave Lu Chengsheng was its height. The city walls were terrifyingly high. The dark gray city walls towered immensely, like a colossal beast stretching across the land, with the lowest point being 15 zhong. 15 zhong is approximately 50 meters. With such high city walls, plus the city guard army, even a great Grand Master who can manipulate the power of heaven and earth would find it impossible to scale the walls and enter the city. Isn't it magnificent? Lu Cheng, seeing Lu Chengsheng's surprise, said with a hint of pride, the city walls of Jinling City were personally designed and supervised by Great Master Mo of the Heavenly Works Institute in Zhang County. He is not only an architectural great master but also a formation master. Besides being sky-high, the city walls also have formations inscribed in their foundations, making them incredibly solid. Even a supreme great Grand Master of the Tao body realm cannot easily damage them. It is indeed a grand undertaking. It seems I didn't come to the wrong place. Lu Chengsheng nodded in agreement. It was worthy of being a place he had stayed in for so long in the simulator, it truly had its unique features. It's just that there are many experts in the city, so I need to be careful, especially not to attract the attention of the mysterious Black Guard. The status of the mysterious Black Guard in Great Qin was somewhat similar to the embroidered uniform guard in his previous life. For someone like Lu Chengsheng, who had no identity certificate, being noticed by them would undoubtedly be very troublesome. As the convoy moved forward, the majestic city walls grew increasingly tall. Upon reaching the city gate, the bustling crowd seemed like ants. Inside and outside the city gate, and even on top of the city walls, there were soldiers in black armor patrolling back and forth, each exuding vigorous chi and clearly top-tier experts. Innate, the worst are also innate martial artists. Lu Chengsheng secretly marveled at this sight. Innate martial artists in the land of Absolute Zero were highly respected great masters. But here, they had become low-level martial artists, even the city guards were innate level at minimum. However, upon closer thought, it was normal. The concentration of heaven and earth origin chi in the Great Qin dynasty was 40 to 50 times that of the land of Absolute Zero. Here, even ordinary people who didn't practice martial arts possessed brute strength not inferior to that of inner chi martial artists in the land of Absolute Zero. Innate martial artists were experts in the land of Absolute Zero, but with the standard increased by 40 to 50 times, they were only at the entry level of martial arts. Only great Grand Masters at the innate peak, who could manipulate the power of heaven and earth, would have a slightly higher status. Lu Cheng lowered his voice and reminded him, these are the Black Dragon army directly under the city lord. Every one of them is an elite soldier. You absolutely must not provoke them. In Jinling City, you can offend anyone, but you cannot offend the forces of the city lord's faction, or you risk dying without a burial place. Don't worry, I'm a person who likes to keep a low profile. Lu Chengsheng smiled meaningfully. In the simulator, he had already been the city lord's son-in-law countless times. 88. Jinling Outer City, Treasure Shop. The carriage arrived at the city gate, and the caravan paid the entry fee for everyone, only then were they allowed to enter the city. Upon entering the city, a wave of bustling noise immediately assailed them. The wide avenue, capable of accommodating 10 carriages abreast, was filled with shoulder-to-shoulder pedestrians, and on both sides, small shops were arrayed like fish scales, with an endless stream of customers. Lu Chengsheng had never witnessed such a prosperous scene in the land of Absolute Zero. Jinling City is divided into 3 layers. They are the Outer City, Inner City, and Core City area. The Outer City is mostly inhabited by ordinary common folk and is the most bustling area. The Inner City is mostly home to wealthy merchants and ordinary dignitaries. As for the Core City area, it is where martial Dao families and top dignitaries reside. Anyone from there, if they came to the Outer City, would be an existence that could shake the ground with a single step. Walking on the main street of the Outer City, Lu Cheng proudly introduced the urban structure of Jinling City to Lu Chengsheng. Lu Chengsheng listened, then asked curiously, I wonder which area Brother Lu's family resides in. Hearing this, Lu Cheng became even more proud. He patted his chest and said, this humble one is not untalented, and is quite wealthy, currently residing in the inner city area. Brother Lu, since you are new here, how about coming to my humble abode as a guest for a few days? Lu Cheng invited. If I accidentally lost my identity proof, can I still enter the inner city? That is a bit troublesome, but give this humble one a few days, and I will definitely get Brother Lu a new identity proof. Lu Cheng guaranteed Lu Chengsheng, ignoring the old butler who was frantically winking at him from the side. Lu Chengsheng was troubled by the identity issue, so he immediately agreed upon hearing this. The Great Qin dynasty, founded on agriculture, placed great importance on household registration management. Without an identity proof, one could say it was impossible to move an inch. Martial Dao experts were a bit better, but if ordinary common folk wandered around without identity proof, they would be directly thrown into prison and reduced to slaves upon discovery. This was also why there were very few beggars in Great Chin. Only the old butler, who was following behind the two, continuously shook his head. Getting a fake identity proof was indeed not difficult for the caravan's connections, but once discovered by the authorities, it would not be so easy to handle. Some matters, if not weighed, seem insignificant. But once weighed, they can be impossibly heavy. He felt that after returning, he needed to persuade his master not to let the young master act recklessly according to his whims. Lu Cheng was unaware of the old butler's thoughts, and even if he knew, he wouldn't care. Considering that Lu Chengsheng had no identity proof and couldn't even stay in a proper inn, Lu Cheng specifically used his own identity proof to rent a quiet residence for him. Lu Chengsheng naturally accepted these gestures with a smile. If there was an opportunity in the future to assist the Lu family, it would be considered repaying today's kindness. After Lu Cheng left, Lu Chengsheng simply tidied up the residence. Then he returned to the bedroom and began to organize the resources in his storage ring. After breaking through to Dao Body 9th Heaven, each simulation required 600 yuan stones, and there were only over 300 yuan stones left in his storage ring, which was simply not enough. To break through to the Faxiong realm as quickly as possible, he could only choose to take a small risk and sell the resources in his storage ring. The resources in the storage ring were roughly divided into 5 types: cultivation technique, weapons, medicinal pills, spirit medicine, and artifact refining materials. He definitely wouldn't sell the cultivation techniques and weapons. Firstly, they were valuable, and secondly, their origin would be difficult to explain, easily leading to trouble. After comparing the medicinal pills with the pill scripture annotations, he found that he could use most of them, and crucially, they could be repeatedly used in the simulator, so he had no intention of selling the medicinal pills either. Finally, he turned his attention to the spirit medicine and artifact refining materials. After carefully selecting a few less valuable spirit medicine and materials, he saw the sky darken and rested for the night. Over the past month or so, he had first traversed the Mist Fiend Sea, and then endured several days of bumpy travel in the carriage, truly not having had a good rest. The next day, he woke up feeling refreshed. Lu Chengsheng put the few items he had chosen into a small cloth bag and went out to look for a buyer. The streets were bustling with people, each exuding an aura that warned strangers to keep their distance. After some inquiries, half an hour later, Lu Chengsheng arrived in front of a 3-story building named 100 Treasure Shop. The 100 Treasure Shop was essentially a general store. It sold everything and bought everything, and it was said that their prices were fair, which was why Lu Chengsheng came here. Welcome, distinguished guest, to the 100 Treasure Shop. As soon as he entered, 2 rows of maids and servants bowed in unison to greet him, showing no disdain due to Lu Chengsheng's age or attire. A leading maid stepped forward and asked, "May I ask what kind of business the guest wishes to conduct here?" "To sell some things to your shopkeeper," Lu Chengsheng stated frankly. "Selling items is usually done on the 3rd floor, please follow me, guest." The maid smiled sweetly and led Lu Chengsheng to the 3rd floor. On the 3rd floor sat a corpulent middle-aged merchant, who seemed to be checking ledgers. Upon seeing Lu Chengsheng approach, he quickly put down what he was doing and greeted him with a beaming smile. "May I ask what item the guest wishes to sell?" Lu Chengsheng didn't waste words and directly poured the contents of the small cloth bag onto the table. Shopkeeper Wang was initially a bit disappointed by the appearance of the small cloth bag, but when he saw what Lu Chengsheng poured out, he showed surprise and quickly stepped forward to examine them carefully. Lu Chengsheng took out a total of 3 items. A pitch-black stone, a spiritual plant with golden leaf patterns, and finally, a small charred piece of wood. Shopkeeper Wang first picked up the stone, weighed it, then squeezed it, and said, "This is black iron stone, which can be used to forge profound weapons, but unfortunately, it's only the size of a fist. The market price is around 300 yuan stones. Our shop acquires goods at 80% of the market price. Does the guest accept this?" "Yes." Lu Chengsheng nodded. The 100 Treasure Shop still had to find buyers themselves, so they would definitely keep some profit for themselves. Lu Chengsheng had already inquired about the 100 Treasure Shop's rules before coming, so he naturally had no objections. As for the profound weapons mentioned by the 100 Treasure Shop's shopkeeper, Lu Chengsheng had already learned about them from Lu Cheng during their journey. Profound weapons are weapons suitable for use by those in the Dao body realm. However, because they are quite valuable, often costing thousands of yuan stones per piece, many below Dao Body 4th heaven have never even touched a profound weapon. Lu Chengsheng was the same. He had only been in Great Qin for 5 or 6 days, and his strength had rapidly increased to Dao Body 9th heaven. Now, ordinary profound weapons couldn't withstand a single punch from him, and powerful profound weapons were difficult to acquire. As a result, he didn't have a suitable profound weapon in his possession. However, he no longer looked down on profound weapons. He still had 3 Faxiong realm weapons in his storage ring that could only be used by those in the Faxiong realm. Once his strength increased to the Faxiong realm, he naturally wouldn't lack weapons. As for the Thunder Tribulation martial gods above the Faxiong realm, they used Dao weapons, any one of which possessed the power to destroy heaven and earth. Lu Chengsheng had not yet witnessed the splendor of such ultimate weapons. Then shopkeeper Wang pointed to the spiritual plant with golden leaf patterns and said, "This golden thread grass is about 300 years old and can already serve as the main ingredient for refining golden body pills. The market price is slightly higher, around 560 yuan stones. As for this piece of lightning tribulation wood." 89. Blood refining pool, blood robe patriarch. Shopkeeper Wang's expression became much more solemn. He called over a servant and asked him to invite the appraiser from the shop. There are many lightning-struck wood pieces in this world, but those with residual heavenly thunder power are 1 in 10,000. Once they appear, they are priceless. This is because the residual heavenly thunder power is generally milder, unlike true heavenly thunder, allowing the divine soul of a Faxiong realm human martial saint to experience the power of heavenly thunder in advance, which is of immense benefit for future undergoing tribulation of the divine soul. Simply put, it can increase a martial saint's probability of breakthrough to a martial god by a tiny bit. Shopkeeper Wang faintly sensed a destructive power within this section of lightning-struck wood but dared not try it lightly, so he had to invite a professional appraiser. After a while, a thin, white-bearded old man hurried upstairs, shouting, "I heard there's a big treasure." "Where is the big treasure?" When he rushed upstairs, shopkeeper Wang went to greet him but was pushed aside. He came before the lightning-struck wood, carefully picked it up, and marveled, "Lightning-struck wood with residual heavenly thunder power, it truly is a treasure." Seeing the appraiser's excited expression, Lu Chengsheng chuckled inwardly. If he were to tell him that he had 5 or 6 more pieces of lightning-struck wood several times larger than this, he wondered what expression he would have. The residual heavenly thunder power in this section of lightning-struck wood is very faint, only 1/10,000th of a wisp of heavenly thunder. The market price is probably around 8,500 yuan stones. After thoroughly examining the lightning-struck wood, the appraiser old man stated his valuation. "It's actually that expensive," Lu Chengsheng also secretly gasped. He originally thought it would be a miracle if it sold for 4 or 5,000 yuan stones, but he didn't expect it to be double his psychological expectation. It seems that items related to the Faxiong realm are all extraordinary. This guessed, at 80% of the market price, these 3 items can be sold at our shop for a total of 7,488 yuan stones. Do you agree to this transaction? Shopkeeper Wang carefully watched Lu Chengsheng's expression, as if afraid he would refuse. Lu Chengsheng took a sip of tea, put down the teacup, and slowly said, "Let's round it up to 7,500 yuan stones." "No problem," shopkeeper Wang said delightedly. He could accept losing a dozen or so yuan stones. Then he quickly ordered a servant to bring out the yuan stones from the warehouse. Looking at the 3 boxes of yuan stones in front of him, Lu Chengsheng frowned slightly. With such a large quantity, it would be difficult to transport. "Guest, our shop can arrange free manpower to transport it to your home." Shopkeeper Wang seemed to see Lu Chengsheng's difficulty and quickly said, "No need." Lu Chengsheng waved his hand, putting all these boxes of yuan stones into his storage ring. Compared to exposing his storage ring, he preferred not to let others know his residence. Space ring. Shopkeeper Wang and the appraiser looked surprised. Even the most common space ring starts at tens of thousands of yuan stones. This white-clothed youth was dressed plainly, but his family background was quite rich. After collecting the yuan stones, Lu Chengsheng left directly. Standing on the 3rd floor, looking at Lu Chengsheng's departing back, shopkeeper Wang's eyes flickered. The appraiser next to him seemed to know what he wanted to do and reminded him, someone who can freely use a space ring is at least a great master of Dao Body 7th heaven. He is not someone you, young man, can afford to provoke. Dao Body 7th heaven is not common in Jinling City, even the city lord would treat such a cultivator with respect. Shopkeeper Wang was just an outer city rich merchant. If he offended such a strong cultivator, he would at least lose a layer of skin if not die. Shopkeeper Wang quickly smiled and said, "Great Master Li, what are you saying? How could I offend the god of wealth in my shop? I was just thinking if there would be another chance to cooperate with that gentleman again." "I hope so." Great Master Li shook his head. "This 100 treasure shop is very strange. In recent years, based on what he knew, more than a dozen major clients had died unexpectedly. But this had nothing to do with him, Li Yuan, he didn't care. He wasn't the 100 treasure shop's exclusive appraiser, he just worked once and got paid once." After collecting this payment, Li Yuan also left. When only shopkeeper Wang was left on the 3rd floor, he revealed a strange smile, "Dao Body 7th heaven." But the shop's formation clearly detected that he is 9 heavens. A Dao Body 9 heavens cultivator suspected to be a loose cultivator is a rare great medicine. Then, he took out paper and pen, wrote a letter, and sent it out through a secret channel. West of Jinling City, Qingshui Alley. This is the largest slum in Jinling City, where outsiders rarely come. Today, however, a strange black-clothed man arrived. The black-clothed man walked quickly towards a certain direction. Underfoot were uneven bluestone slab roads, with low wooden houses lining both sides of the road, and sewage flowing in the corners. Commoners dressed in ragged linen clothes squatted at their doorways, staring blankly at the alley, their eyes numb and dull. As the black-clothed man walked quickly, his occasional glances at these people showed no pity but rather a hint of bloodthirsty desire. Reaching the end of the alley, the black-clothed man knocked on the door of a low hut. After exchanging a secret signal and undergoing a series of complicated checks, the black-clothed man finally descended into a secret tunnel located inside the hut. The further down the tunnel went, the more pungent the smell of blood became. When he reached the very bottom, what greeted the black-clothed man's eyes was a massive blood pool. The blood pool was connected to countless tunnels on all 4 sides, like an ant's nest. In several of these tunnels, martial artists were brought one by one into the blood pool, then killed, and their fresh blood was poured into the blood pool. Gradually, the blood pool grew deeper and deeper, and faint wails of vengeful spirits could be heard. Plop, plop, one after another, mysterious black-clothed men jumped directly into the blood pool. Their faces were veined, and black chi coiled around their bodies. But with every moment they stayed in the blood pool, their aura grew stronger. They were using the blood pool to increase their strength. Some even directly broke through a minor realm. It was only because a formation enveloped this place that no sound was transmitted to the outside world. Lord Altar Master, our wood element banner has captured a total of 87 martial artists this time, including 42 innate martial artists, 11 Dao body martial artists, and all the rest are low-level martial artists below innate. The one referred to as Altar Master was a burly old ancestor in a blood-colored robe, seated on a throne made of white bones. If one looked closely, they would find the white bones covered in bloodstains, and the robe was even more bloody, with fresh blood dripping, revealing it to be human skin freshly peeled from a living person. 11 Dao body realm martial artists. That's too few, and they are all below Dao body 4th heaven, so they are not of much value to me. Never mind, throw them all into the blood pool. I'll give you all a quarter of an hour for blood pool cultivation. The blood robe old ancestor waved his hand. Thank you, Altar Master. Upon hearing the blood robe old ancestor's words, everyone from the wood element banner felt incredibly excited. This blood pool was built by them using the blood of martial artists combined with a blood refining formation. Entering it could rapidly enhance their strength. A quarter of an hour was already equivalent to several months of their arduous cultivation. 90. Lost. Become a disciple of Riao sect. Yi Han, why did only you from the leaf of metal banner come this time? The blood robe old ancestor frowned when he saw the black-clothed man who had come through the slums. Coming alone usually meant there was an important matter to report, though he didn't know if it was good news or bad. The black-clothed man, named Yi Han, respectfully took out a letter and handed it to the blood robe old ancestor. Altar Master, our leaf of metal banner disciples have discovered a Dao body 9th heaven martial artist who is possibly a loose cultivator. The blood robe old ancestor opened the envelope, and upon seeing its contents, his eyes gleamed with excitement and bloodlust. A Dao body 9th heaven martial artist, possibly a loose cultivator. The blood robe old ancestor muttered softly. There were only 20 to 30 Dao body 9th heaven martial artists in Jinling City, and each of them either had their own family or was backed by a powerful force. To avoid exposing the heavenly demon sect's branch altar in Jinling City, he had been holding back from making a move. Now, finally encountering a Tao Body Ninth Heaven martial artist who was possibly a loose cultivator and still residing in the outer city, he felt he could no longer restrain himself. The most crucial point was that the Faxiong realm martial saints stationed in Jinling City had been temporarily transferred to another location by the Great Qin Imperial Court. This meant that currently, the official side of Jinling City had no Faxiong realm martial saint overseeing it, and even if there were martial saint old ancestors from other forces in the city, they generally wouldn't meddle in others' affairs. For the blood robe old ancestor, this was undoubtedly an excellent opportunity to act. I'll do it. It's been a long time since I've consumed a great medicine of the Tao Body Ninth Heaven. If this continues, I feel my strength will regress. The blood robe old ancestor licked his lips, finally deciding to make a move. Go find that person's residence, I will personally take action then. The blood robe old ancestor gave the order. Yes. A hint of excitement flashed in Yi Han's eyes. This person was discovered by their leaf of metal banner, and even if they didn't personally act, their contribution wouldn't be diminished. Moreover, he was very clear about the altar master's strength. The Faxiong realm is divided into 3 minor realms. The blood robe old ancestor was in the 2nd minor realm, not a weakling within the Faxiong realm. With him taking action, this credit was virtually guaranteed. As soon as Lu Chengsheng left the 100 treasure shop, his mental energy, far superior to others at the same realm, detected several people emerging from the 100 treasure shop's back door, stealthily following him. These individuals were not weak, they were all Tao Body realm martial artists. They kept a distance of 400 to 500 meters, assuming that even with the mental energy of a Tao Body Ninth Heaven, they wouldn't be discovered. However, Lu Chengsheng's cultivation of the divine forging art was at perfection, making his mental energy twice that of others at the same realm. Alright, so this is how your 100 treasure shop does business, huh? Lu Chengsheng sneered coldly, mentally sentencing the 100 treasure shop to death, but outwardly, he continued to walk forward as if nothing was amiss. He pretended to stroll, winding through streets and alleys, but he could never shake off the tales behind him. Could something have been done to me? Lu Chengsheng sniffed carefully and found that there was indeed a faint sandalwood scent on him. It was the scent produced by burning incense on the 3rd floor of the 100 treasure shop. Lu Chengsheng had initially thought it was for refreshing the mind, but now he realized this scent was extremely difficult to remove. The origin stones given by the 100 treasure shop also carried this scent. Lu Chengsheng first found a small alley, deposited all the origin stones obtained from the 100 treasure shop into the system, and then entered a clothing store. The people tracking Lu Chengsheng noticed him leaving through the back door and quickly followed. After following for a while, they realized that the person's back silhouette was slightly different from the original, and their aura was much weaker. Upon closer inspection, it wasn't the same person at all. Where did you get the clothes on you? The group surrounded the person, startling him. He quickly replied, just now at the clothing store, someone gave me an origin stone and told me to wander around in his clothes for a few circles. I don't even know that person. Damn it, they lost him. The group exchanged glances and quickly dispersed to search for Lu Chengsheng. But without the scent marker, they were like headless flies. After an hour of fruitless searching, they had no choice but to report the news. Lost him, what a bunch of useless people. By the blood pool, the blood robe old ancestor cursed Yi Han and the others mercilessly. Of course, losing track of Lu Chengsheng didn't mean he couldn't be found at all, just that it would be much more troublesome. Bring the items up. This venerable one will personally cast the 1,000-mile soul lock art. Soon, the 3 items Lu Chengsheng had sold to the 100 treasure shop were presented. These items carried Lu Chengsheng's aura. As long as Lu Chengsheng was still in Jinling City, the blood robe old ancestor could use them to locate him. Of course, this process would certainly consume some time and mental energy. Since he sold items at the 100 treasure shop, his residence probably isn't too far from it. A sinister gleam flashed in the blood robe old ancestor's eyes, and he decided to start searching from the 100 treasure shop's vicinity. On the other side, Lu Chengsheng circled his residence a few times. Seeing that no one was following him, he finally returned to his dwelling with peace of mind. The first thing he did upon returning to his dwelling was close the door and open the simulator. One simulation costs 600 gold. Current balance, 7,860 gold. Do you wish to start the simulation immediately? Yes. 600 gold consumed. Simulation begins. At 17, you arrived at Jinling City in Zhang County of Great Qin. After selling 3 items at the 100 treasure shop, you were tracked by others. Upon discovering this, you went through some twists and turns and successfully shook off the tail. Upon seeing this, Lu Chengsheng finally relaxed. Since the simulator said he shook off the tail, then he must have truly shaken them off. That very night, while you were meditating and cultivating, countless dark red blood emerged from underground, submerging you. You died. What? Lu Chengsheng was dumbfounded. He had just shaken off the 100 treasure shop's tail, and then that very night he inexplicably died. Was this a joke? Besides, how could the 100 treasure shop, an outer city shop, have the power to make a Tao body 9th heaven like him die so mysteriously? However, apart from the 100 treasure shop, there were no other simulation variables. It could only mean that this 100 treasure shop definitely had a big problem. It was absolutely not as simple as an ordinary shop. Again, at 17, you arrived in Jinling City. After leaving the 100 treasure shop, you shook off your trackers. Afterward, you did not return to your residence but left Jinling City through the nearest south gate. 1 month later, you arrived in Danyang County. You heard that the local major sect, Sun Radiance Sect, was recruiting disciples, so you went to the Sun Radiance Sect to participate in the sect assessment. 3 days later, you successfully passed the Sun Radiance Sect's entrance assessment. Although your origin was unknown, being a 17-year-old Tao body 9th heaven was too astonishing. Your aptitude was so high, comparable to true disciples of the 3 teachings and 6 sects, so you were still fiercely vied for by various elders. Ultimately, the Sun Radiance Sect master, Gao Hongyang, personally accepted you as his personal disciple and imparted to you the first part of the Great Sun Mystic Scripture. At 18, you successfully gained initial comprehension of the Great Sun Mystic Scripture. Gaining initial comprehension in 1 year showed only the aptitude of an ordinary genius. Gao Hongyang was slightly disappointed but still encouraged you, believing it was just a temporary setback and that you would surely shine brightly in the future. 91. Mingxin Wudian, Dharma Phase Level. At 20 years old, your Great Sun Mystic Scripture broke through the first layer. Gao Hongyang suspected that you were not suited for this cultivation technique, because your 7 senior brothers, even the slowest among them, only took 3 months to break through the first layer, while you took 3 years. Gao Hongyang wanted you to switch to another cultivation technique, but you disagreed. This was the Sun Radiance Sect's strongest cultivation technique, and you were reluctant to give it up. Besides, you knew clearly that it wasn't that you were unsuited for the Great Sun Mystic Scripture, rather, your aptitude was simply like this, and cultivating other cultivation techniques would only expose your true aptitude sooner. Seeing that you were unwilling to switch, Gao Hongyang did not press the issue. He merely sighed and, in the same year, took in a 15-year-old junior sister at Tao Body 6th Heaven. At 24 years old, your Great Sun Mystic Scripture broke through the second layer, and your cultivation entered the Tao Body 9th Heaven middle stage. Meanwhile, your 19-year-old junior sister Zhang Kaling had already cultivated the Great Sun Mystic Scripture to the 5th layer and was beginning to assault the Faxiong realm. Over these years, you, once a peerless genius, had become a fallen genius. Many prodigies of your generation within the sect had surpassed you. At 25 years old, after carefully examining your cultivation progress, the sect's high-ranking officials unanimously determined that you were merely an ordinary genius. Gao Hongyang shook his head, revoked your status as a personal disciple, and demoted you to a named disciple. Thereafter, your cultivation resources were greatly reduced, to less than 1/5 of what they once were. Everyone considered this natural, but only Zhang Kaling voiced her displeasure for you. 3 months later, Zhang Kaling successfully advanced to the Faxiong realm. Many people in the sect sent congratulatory gifts, and she privately gave you half of them. When Zhang Kaling's suitors learned of this news, they came to mock you for being so shameless. You smiled and said he was right. He was speechless and left in silence. At 26 years old, Gao Hongyang advanced to the Faxiong realm 3rd level peak, greatly increasing his strength. He decided to use the full power of the sect to attack the Divine Moon sect and reclaim the Divine Moon Manual. The Sun Radiance sect and the Divine Moon sect originally split from the Bright Divine sect 500 years ago. The Great Sun Mystic Scripture and the Divine Moon Manual, when combined, formed the complete Ming God martial canon of the original Bright Divine sect. This cultivation technique could manifest a Earth-grade Dharma form, sun and moon radiance, and only then would Gao Hongyang have a sliver of confidence to attempt to break through to the Thunder Tribulation Martial God. Under Gao Hongyang's strong leadership, the war between the Sun Radiance sect and the Divine Moon sect quickly began. As the sect master's named disciple, you also had no choice but to participate. At 27 years old, Gao Hongyang sent you on a dangerous mission. During the mission, you were killed by a Faxiong realm elder from the Divine Moon sect. You died. Sure enough, wherever there are people, there is Zhonggu, fighting and killing are inevitable. Liu Changsheng was not too surprised to see himself die in the sect war. The only regret was dying too early. If he had lived 40 or 50 years longer, perhaps he would have been qualified to attempt to break through to the Faxiong realm. However, this simulation revealed two important pieces of information. First, leaving Jinling City in time could avoid an untimely death. Second, my aptitude, when placed in the Great Qin dynasty, is only slightly better than that of an ordinary person. The former was certainly exciting news, as he didn't want to die an unclear death. As for the latter, Liu Changsheng was not too surprised either. His initial aptitude was very mediocre, he even needed the berserk pill to break through to innate. Later, after repeatedly consuming vermilion fruits and cultivating the Marrow Cleansing Sutra for a long time, his aptitude greatly improved, making him a peerless genius in the land of absolute zero. However, when placed in the Great Qin dynasty, it was still slightly insufficient. This was because the origin qi concentration here was simply too high. People living here had an average aptitude far surpassing that of the land of absolute zero by an unknown margin. Liu Changsheng, a genius from the land of absolute zero, could only be considered an ordinary genius here. It was said that in ancient times, the world's origin qi was 100 times greater than that of Great Qin. People born then were innate bodies, and their cultivation aptitude was unfathomably higher. However, Liu Changsheng believed that Great Qin must also have treasures that could enhance aptitude. It was just that with his current strength, it would be difficult to obtain them. He would search for them after he broke through to the Faxiong realm, confident that his aptitude could still receive a significant boost. As for now, Liu Changsheng did not hesitate and quickly walked towards the city gate. Future grand endeavors could wait. For now, he needed to preserve his own life. After exiting the city gate, Liu Changsheng soared into the sky. Only when he was 100 miles away from Jinling City did he choose a spot, and the qi on his body increased significantly. At the same time, the vermilion bird true energy within his body grew by another tenth. This increased tenth was naturally obtained by devouring the true qi true energy cultivated from the Great Sun Mystic Scripture. The Great Sun Mystic Scripture, when cultivated to the Faxiong realm, could condense the Great Sun Dharma form. Liu Changsheng was startled by the name at first, but from the feedback in the simulator, the quality of the Great Sun True Qi cultivated from it was far inferior to the Vermilion Bird True Energy. Perhaps this Great Sun Dharma form was only intimidating in name, and its rank might not be very high. The Dharma forms condensed in the Faxiong realm are divided into heaven, earth, and human grades. According to the information in the simulator, the Great Sun Mystic Scripture was only a remnant of the Ming God Martial Canon. Even the complete Ming God Martial Canon, when cultivated, produced the Sun and Moon Radiance Dharma form, which was only Earth grade. This Great Sun Dharma form was very likely only the lowest human grade. However, the four symbols mysterious skill and Peacock King of Brightness scripture in Liu Changsheng's hands, when cultivated, produced the four divine beast Dharma forms and the Peacock Great Bright King Dharma form, both of which were heaven grade. It's just that the higher the grade, the greater the difficulty of cultivation. For example, the four divine beast Dharma forms require certain materials from the four great divine beasts to be condensed. However, the four great divine beasts have been extinct since ancient times. Even the few materials that occasionally survive to this day are not something a mere Tao body realm cultivator like him can obtain. Perhaps the true disciple of the 10,000 manifestations sect also found the requirements for the four divine beast Dharma forms too outrageous, which is why he switched to cultivating the Peacock King of Brightness scripture. Why was Liu Changsheng so sure that he was cultivating the Peacock King of Brightness scripture? Because more than half of the materials in the storage ring were prepared for condensing the Peacock Great Bright King Dharma form. Even so, condensing the Peacock Great Bright King Dharma form was still very difficult for Liu Changsheng. Liu Changsheng now planned to first break through to the Faxiong realm using the Great Sun Mystic Scripture, and then spend time condensing the Peacock Great Bright King Dharma form. Otherwise, if he kept getting stuck in the Tao body realm just to pursue perfection, he couldn't bear it. He hadn't forgotten that his most important goal right now was to quickly break through to the Faxiong realm, and then go to Shaoyang Mountain to prevent the martial saint named Tuo Badao from throwing the Xingluo sect's secret decree into the spatial turbulence. Compared to the Dharma form's rank, the legacy of the Star Luo sect was undoubtedly the main prize. Continue to exploit the Sun Radiance sect. Consume 600 gold, simulation begins. At 17 years old, you left Jinling City and traveled to Danyang County to apprentice at the Sun Radiance sect. 1 month later, you successfully joined the Sun Radiance sect and, as a peerless prodigy, became sect master Gao Hongyang's personal disciple. Soon after becoming an apprentice, you told Gao Hongyang that you wanted to break through to the Faxiong realm before you turned 20, hoping for his strong support. Gao Hongyang was very pleased to hear this and decided to increase your Dai by 50%. At 19 years old, you broke through to the Tao body 9th heaven late stage, and the Great Sun mystic scripture broke through to the 3rd layer. Gao Hongyang was not very satisfied with your cultivation progress. You said you were about to touch the bottleneck of the Faxiong realm and would definitely not disappoint him next. 92. 5 Evil Pill Condensation Method, finally become a martial saint in the world. At 20 years old, Gao Hongyang took in a 15-year-old junior sister for you. At 22 years old, your Great Sun mystic scripture broke through to the 4th layer, and within the sect, doubts about you, the peerless prodigy, arose one after another. At 23 years old, you broke through to the peak of Tao body 9th heaven. At 24 years old, you used the excuse of attempting to break through to the Faxiong realm to demand more resources from Gao Hongyang. Gao Hongyang initially did not want to agree, but you claimed you would use your strength to dispel all doubts within the sect and regain face for Gao Hongyang, making it difficult for him to refuse, and he once again doubled your resources. At 25 years old, Gao Hongyang repeatedly asked you when you would be able to break through to the Faxiong realm. Amidst your repeated answers of, soon, your junior sister Zhang Kaling successfully broke through to the Faxiong realm. Seeing that you still hadn't broken through, Gao Hongyang intended to stop your resources, but you quickly announced your closed-door cultivation for a breakthrough, stating that you would surely achieve Faxiong upon emerging. To avoid affecting your breakthrough, he had no choice but to begrudgingly continue providing you with resources. At 26 years old, your Great Sun mystic scripture broke through to the 5th layer. At 27 years old, you had been in closed-door cultivation for 2 full years without advancing to Faxiong, and Gao Hongyang, in a fit of pique, stopped all your cultivation resources. In the same year, Gao Hongyang achieved mental clarity and successfully advanced to the peak of the 3rd level of the Faxiong realm, and soon after announced an attack on the Divine Moon sect. Lu Chengsheng chuckled when he saw this. He remembered that Gao Hongyang had broken through at his 26th year in the previous simulator, but this time it was prolonged by a full year, and he even mentioned mental clarity. Good heavens, could it be that he was so angered by him that even his breakthrough was delayed? During the Great War between the two sects, you were forced to participate, but you always lingered on the edge of the battlefield, never venturing into dangerous areas. Gao Hongyang saw you constantly slacking off and was so enraged that his teeth itched. He directly sent you to the inner region, where Faxiong realm battles occasionally occurred. To survive, you constantly clung tightly to Zhang Kaling, who was close to you, not daring to leave her sight for a moment. At 29 years old, over the past 2 years, junior sister Zhang Kaling made an indelible contribution to your personal safety. After much tempering on the battlefield, you finally touched the bottleneck of the Faxiong realm, gaining a glimmer of hope for a breakthrough. At 30 years old, the war between the two sects reached a fever pitch, on the verge of a decisive outcome. Meanwhile, you took advantage of Gao Hongyang's preoccupation and secretly returned to the Sun Radiance sect. At this time, with the sect fully focused on besieging the Divine Moon sect, the internal defenses were empty. You used your identity as the sect master's personal disciple to sneak into the sect's treasure vault, absconding with most of the resources before making your escape. Gao Hongyang, far away at the Divine Moon sect, received this news and furiously cursed you as a rebellious disciple, then immediately issued a high bounty for you. 3 months later, you arrived at a desolate place and began closed-door cultivation to break through to the Faxiong realm. At 33 years old, 3 years passed, and you felt something was still missing. At 36 years old, 3 more years passed, and you still couldn't break through. You began to search for the reason why you couldn't break through. At 37 years old, you finally understood why you couldn't break through. To step into the Faxiong realm, the primary requirement is to transform all the true Qi and Gang Yuan within your physical body into Dharma power. However, you have 8 types of Gang Yuan in your physical body, and if you add the colorless Gang Yuan from the Muscle Forging Classic, that makes 9. And with the secret method in the Great Sun Mystic Scripture, at most, it can only transform your Vermilion Bird Gang Yuan into Dharma power, it simply cannot simultaneously transform all 9 types of Gang Yuan into Dharma power. You deliberated repeatedly and decided to temporarily seal the other 8 types of Gang Yuan, leaving only the Vermilion Bird Gang Yuan. As for the sealing method, you adopted Shi Jian's 5 evil Qi condensing pill method. I never expected this secret method to come in handy, Lu Changsheng remarked with a hint of surprise. He remembered that when he was curious about Shi Jian's secret to breaking through beyond an 8 decades later, he specifically examined it in detail during soul searching and thus obtained this 5 evil Qi condensing pill method. The 5 evil Qi condensing pill method is essentially using 5 types of evil Qi to compress one's Gang Yuan, forming a Qi pill that can double the explosive power of one's Gang Yuan. However, even if a single Gang Yuan condenses into a Qi pill, it cannot achieve the effect of overwhelming those of the same realm. This is also why Shi Jian would, in the future, fuse the Gang Yuan from the 4 volumes of True Techniques, plus the demonic technique he cultivated, into one Qi pill. A quantitative change leads to a qualitative change, enough to give him strength far exceeding those of the same realm. But there is also a drawback to doing this. Once a Qi pill is formed, the Gang Yuan cannot nourish the physical body in return. This is why Lu Changsheng had always left it gathering dust in a corner before. Now, the him in the simulator is at the peak of Tao body 9th heaven, and his physical body has long since transformed to a certain limit, just like the limit of his lifespan, unable to increase further. Naturally, he can seal other Gang Yuan in the form of a Qi pill, to allow his Vermilion Bird Gang Yuan to undergo transformation. As for the 5 types of evil Qi, they are not difficult to find. Shi Jian was able to collect them even in the land of Absolute Zero. And any single commandery in the Great Qin dynasty is several times larger than the land of Absolute Zero, so finding these 5 types of evil Qi would only be easier. At 38 years old, you collected the 5 types of evil Qi. At 39 years old, you began to attempt to compress the other 8 great Gang Yuan besides the Vermilion Bird Gang Yuan. At 42 years old, you successfully condensed the 8 great Gang Yuan into one Qi pill. At 43 years old, you continued to break through to the Faxiong realm. At 45 years old, the Vermilion Bird Gang Yuan in your physical body began to transform into fire elemental Dharma power. At 47 years old, the transformation was complete, and you successfully broke through to the Faxiong realm, becoming a human martial saint. Finally, a human martial saint. Lu Changsheng exclaimed with some awe. He had originally planned to break through to the Faxiong realm within 10 days, but he unexpectedly achieved this goal in just 1 day. Of course, this might be partly thanks to the pressure from the bizarre incident at the 100 Treasure Shop. If he hadn't died so inexplicably, making him feel the taste of weakness, the him in the simulator wouldn't have pushed himself so intensely. However, even after breaking through to the Faxiong realm, Lu Changsheng still had many things to do. Because transforming Gang Yuan into Dharma power, which has greater power and higher quality, is only the first step. Next, only by condensing a heaven and earth Dharma form with Dharma power can one be considered to have officially entered the Faxiong realm. And Dharma forms are divided into 3 grades: heavenly, earthly, and human. The combat power between each grade is vastly different. Of course, the higher the grade, the greater the difficulty of condensation. Many martial saints, even if they possess high-grade Dharma forms, choose lower-grade Dharma forms due to their inability to condense them. Because the Faxiong realm is not simply a matter of the Dharma form determining life or death. The quantity and quality of Dharma power also greatly affect combat power. In fact, the 3 minor realms of the Faxiong realm are all divided according to the quality of Dharma power. They are the Dharma power realm, Law fluid realm, and Fa Dan realm. With each level increase, the quantity will increase by dozens of times, and the quality will also greatly improve. Simply put, a Fa Dan realm cultivator, even if they condense a human-grade Dharma form, may not necessarily be inferior to a Dharma power realm cultivator with a heavenly-grade Dharma form. Lu Changsheng was curious about what the him in the simulator would choose: a lower-grade Dharma form with easier condensation, or a higher-grade Dharma form with greater power. 93. Heavenly Dharma phase. This is what a genius should look like. After breaking through to Martial Saint, you have completed all the cultivation of the upper part of the Great Sun Mystic Scripture. To condense the Great Sun Dharma form and continue your cultivation in the Faxiong realm, you must find the lower part of the Great Sun Mystic Scripture. However, holding two heavenly grade Dharma forms, you are not in a hurry at all. There are a large number of resources required to condense the Peacock Great Bright King Dharma form in your storage ring, which will greatly reduce the difficulty of condensation. Therefore, you decide to condense the Peacock Great Bright King Dharma form first, rather than the Great Sun Dharma form. At 50 years old, your Peacock Great Bright King Dharma form begins to take shape. At 52 years old, after exhausting the relevant resources, you successfully condensed a one-armed Peacock Great Bright King Dharma form. Afterward, you came to a desolate mountain to test the power of the heavenly grade Dharma form. With a casual strike from the Peacock Great Bright King Dharma form, an 800-meter-high mountain in front of you was wiped off the map. Its power was so immense that it left you speechless. But you quickly discovered that all the Dharma power in your body was completely consumed in that single strike. This means that when using a heavenly grade Dharma form, you only have one strike's worth of power, which can only be used as a trump card and not for regular use. In desperation, you set your sights on the Great Sun Dharma form again. You have been a defector from the Sun Radiance sect for 22 years. Returning again, things have changed. You learned that in the decisive battle 21 years ago, the Divine Moon sect was annihilated. As for the Divine Moon martial cannon, it was taken by the Divine Moon sect master, Luo Li, and its whereabouts are unknown. The Sun Radiance sect also suffered heavy losses in that battle. Sect master Gao Hongyang was severely wounded in the Great War and died of depression a few years after returning. The current Sun Radiance sect has become an affiliated sect of the Divine Firmament sect. In the end, it was all for naught. Lu Chengsheng sighed. Gao Hongyang had always wanted the complete Ming God martial cannon, but unfortunately, he only achieved a tragic victory and gained nothing, even losing his own life. Now it seems that fleeing with his belongings before the decisive battle was the wisest course of action. Otherwise, he would either become cannon fodder in the Great War or live out his old age in the declining Sun Radiance sect. You infiltrated the Sun Radiance sect, walking through the places you once lived, filled with myriad emotions. After strolling around, just as you were about to leave, a woman appeared before you. Even after so much time had passed, you recognized her at a glance as your junior sister, Zhang Kaling. 22 years have passed. Now, she has not only broken through to the law fluid realm but has also become the first female sect master in the history of the Sun Radiance sect. She held a sword to your throat, questioning why you betrayed the sect and fled back then. You said that staying would only make you cannon fodder, and you didn't want to sacrifice yourself in vain for Gao Hongyang's ambition. Zhang Kaling ultimately did not stab with that sword. She gave you the lower part of the Great Sun Mystic Scripture that you wanted, then ordered you never to step into the Sun Radiance sect's gates again. Leaving the Sun Radiance sect, you changed your appearance and settled in a small town at the foot of the Sun Radiance sect mountain, opening a wood carving shop. Whether intentional or not, every few months, your junior sister, Zhang Kaling, would pass by your shop. At 53 years old, you successfully condensed the Great Sun Dharma form. The Great Sun Dharma form is only a human-grade Dharma form, and with your current Dharma power, you can use it for 15 minutes. At 55 years old, your Dharma power increased. At 57 years old, you broke through to the Dharma power realm middle stage. In the same year, your junior sister, Zhang Kaling, officially entered the Fa Dan realm, and congratulations poured in from all directions. At 58 years old, the Divine Firmament sect and the Danyang Mi clan clashed, and both sides began hostilities. The Sun Radiance sect, as an affiliated sect of the Divine Firmament sect, also dispatched a large number of elite disciples to provide support. At 59 years old, the Mi clan sent people to attack the Sun Radiance sect, intending to kill a chicken to warn the monkeys. Your junior sister was severely wounded under siege. At a critical moment, you suddenly appeared, used the Peacock Great Bright King Dharma form, and led her to break through the encirclement. A few days later, Mi clan experts pursued them. It was a Peak Fa Dan realm expert who had condensed an Earth-grade Dharma form. You and she had nowhere to go and died together in the Yellow Springs. Lu Chengsheng couldn't help but be stunned after reading the last line of text. Why did this time feel like the sour smell of romance? Wasn't that junior sister just your personal bodyguard on the battlefield for a few years, gave you the lower part of the Great Sun Mystic Scripture, and occasionally came to see you? Was she worth sacrificing your life for to save her? Since it was only text information, Lu Changsheng couldn't empathize with his simulated self in many matters. Although he didn't understand, he would still offer his blessings. In this simulation, he had already done everything he could. Not only did he break through to the Faxiong realm, but he also condensed a heavenly grade Dharma form. Lu Changsheng had nothing to criticize, only a sense of regret that the boss hadn't squeezed the last drop of blood from the employee. But then again, Zhang Keiling's aptitude was truly high. She broke through to the Dharma power realm at 20 and the Fa Dan realm at 57. Faxiong realm, 500 years of lifespan. 57 years old is truly very young. With over 400 years of life remaining, there is great hope of impacting Thunder Tribulation Martial God. This is what a true prodigy should be like, far from what an impostor like Lu Changsheng could compare to. It only took her 37 years to cultivate from the Dharma power realm to the Fa Dan realm, making Lu Changsheng drool with envy. If he had this aptitude, he would probably be a Thunder Tribulation Martial God by now. It seems necessary to pay attention to treasures that can improve aptitude within the Great Qin territory. Simulation ended. You can keep one of the following. 1. The cultivation realm at 59 years old. 2. The cultivation experience at 59 years old. I choose 1. Boom. As Lu Changsheng made his choice, the origin qi in his body immediately surged. The vermilion bird origin qi, like a swimming dragon, separated from the other origin qi and began to constantly compress and refine. And the other 8 types of origin qi, under an invisible hand, quickly condensed into a mass, and 5 streams of rolling evil qi emerged from the depths of the void realm, enveloping them, soon transforming into an 8-colored qi pill, curled up in the corner of his dantian. At this moment, the vermilion bird origin qi also completed its refinement, transforming into 10 strands of fiery red Dharma power. That's right, the 15th layer of vermilion bird origin qi only refined these 10 strands of Dharma power. Dharma power is a special energy produced when origin qi is condensed to its extreme. Even a single strand cannot be withstood by a physical body below the Tao body 9th heaven. This is also why the physical body must undergo 9 transformations before it can begin to refine Dharma power. Below the Tao body 9th heaven, even if Dharma power is refined, the physical body will collapse and die. Accumulating Dharma power is an incredibly long process. Only when the total Dharma power in the body reaches 999 strands can the gaseous Dharma power begin to condense into a liquid. And Lu Changsheng, in the simulation, had already broken through to the Dharma power realm middle stage, so it was naturally impossible for him to only have 10 strands of Dharma power. Sure enough, not long after, the origin qi of heaven and earth formed a huge vortex and poured down, and the amount of Dharma power in Lu Changsheng's body began to surge. 20 strands. 30 strands, 40 strands. The Dharma power stopped increasing when it reached 288 strands. However, the breakthrough was far from over. 94. Successfully prevented, 9-level trial. Faxiong, also known as heavenly grade Dharma form. If Dharma power is iron ore, then heavenly grade Dharma form is a divine weapon forged from iron ore. Only heavenly grade Dharma form can maximize the power of Dharma power. Generally, a martial artist who has just entered the Dharma power realm cannot condense a heavenly grade Dharma form so quickly, but Lu Changsheng is an exception. He saw that his 288 levels of Dharma power, through the qi aperture, manipulated the heavenly grade origin qi, slowly condensing a one-armed golden body great Buddha above the void realm where Lu Changsheng stood. The golden body great Buddha was 100 jong tall, seated on a golden treasure lotus, with countless peacock feathers hundreds of jong long behind it, opening like a folding fan, majestic and solemn. Heavenly grade Dharma form, peacock king of brightness. And behind the head of the golden body great Buddha, there was also a golden great sun. It was precisely the great sun Dharma form. However, compared to the might of the heavenly grade Dharma form, the human grade great sun Dharma form almost became a mere decoration. As soon as the Peacock King of Brightness appeared, a terrifying might swept out in all directions. Mortals, fierce beasts, and martial artists below the Tao body realm within a radius of tens of miles were all pressed to the ground by this powerful might, trembling as if they had encountered a terrifying natural disaster beast. Even the common people in Jinling City, 100 miles away, felt a heavy pressure like Mount Tai pressing down. Who condensed a heavenly grade Dharma form? The Yang family, Jinling City's top martial Tao family. The Faxiong realm old ancestor Yang Wu, woke up from his cultivation. He walked out of the secret room, flew into the air, and looked in the direction of Lu Changsheng's breakthrough. It's actually a heavenly grade Dharma form. Underground blood pool. The blood-robe old ancestor, who was annoyed because he couldn't find Lu Changsheng, was greatly surprised when he felt the fluctuations coming from afar. Not only is the method for the heavenly grade Dharma form difficult to find, but its condensation difficulty is even more terrifyingly high. But once successfully condensed, even in the Dharma power realm, one can fight against a human grade Dharma form in the Fa Dan realm, or a earth grade Dharma form in the law fluid realm. And the Faxiong, blood sea surging, that the blood-robe old ancestor spent most of his life's effort to exchange from his sect was precisely a earth-grade Dharma form. Of course, he didn't believe that an existence capable of condensing a heavenly grade Dharma form would only have Dharma power realm cultivation. An unfamiliar powerful individual who appeared out of nowhere. It seems I need to quickly find that great medicine of the Tao body ninth heaven, and then keep a low profile for a period of time, to avoid any unexpected complications. Thinking of this, the blood-robe old ancestor accelerated the search speed of his 1,000-mile soul-locking art. This aura seems to be a Buddhist Faxiong of my Buddhist sect. In a dilapidated temple outside Jinling City, a bald monk who was sleeping soundly scrambled up, looking at the distant sky with an uncertain expression. Logically, Zhang Commandery was not the territory of his Buddhist sect's forces, so who would choose to condense a Buddhist Faxiong here? And it's a heavenly grade Dharma form. This can only be found in the Great Luminous Temple. Could it be a high monk from the Great Luminous Temple passing by here? Forget it, who cares who he is, what does it have to do with me, a discarded disciple of the Great Luminous Temple? The bald monk muttered, then lay back down to sleep. Before long, earth-shattering snores resounded again. This might came quickly and went quickly. When the nearby powerful individuals rushed to the location where the Faxiong appeared, they only found an enormous palm print. The palm print was so large that its full scope could only be seen from high in the sky. The powerful individuals were deeply shocked, speechless for a long time. And Lu Changsheng, the instigator, was already high in the sky 100 miles away. After condensing the Peacock Great Bright King Dharma form, he controlled the Faxiong to casually strike a palm. Just an ordinary strike consumed 10 wisps of his Dharma power. If he were to use some more powerful moves, the consumption would be unimaginable. And this was only an incomplete heavenly grade Dharma form. The truly complete Peacock Great Bright King Dharma form has 8 arms, allowing one to multitask, simultaneously perform 8 different moves, or simultaneously control 8 different magic weapons. At that time, the Peacock Great Bright King would be at full power. As for the consumption, Lu Changsheng suddenly felt that his little bit of Dharma power was pitifully small. I am currently only in the middle stage of the Dharma power realm. I wonder if I can stop Tuobadao from self-destructing his spatial ring. Lu Changsheng secretly calculated in his heart. No matter what, he absolutely cannot miss the great opportunity of the Star Luo sect secret realm. When in doubt, simulate it first. Simulating once consumes 2,000 gold, balance 6,660 gold. Do you want to start simulating immediately? Money is not quite enough again. Lu Changsheng stroked his chin and clicked to simulate. Consumed 2,000 gold, simulation started. At 17, you broke through to the Faxiong realm and successfully condensed the heavenly grade Dharma form, Peacock King of Brightness. 2 days later, you arrived at Shaoyang Mountain and began to wait quietly. 9 days later, a group of martial saints chased Tuobadao here. Just as Tuobadao was in a desperate situation and wanted to destroy his spatial ring, you controlled the Peacock Great Bright King Dharma form and shattered half of his body with one strike, foiling his attempt to destroy the ring. After Tuobadao's death, the martial saints scrambled for the spatial ring. Not long after, a thunder tribulation martial god from the Heluo Li clan descended. With the martial god present, no one dared to contend, and they could only let him take the ring. Subsequently, several martial gods descended one after another, and seeing that the Xingluo sect secret decree had been taken by the Heluo Li clan, they all showed disappointment. Given the value of the Star Luo sect legacy, it's no surprise that it would attract martial gods. Seeing this scene, Lu Changsheng was not surprised. These martial saints chasing Tuobadao were merely taking advantage of being close. The martial gods of the nearby top forces were all on their way after receiving the news. If Tuobadao had been any slower, the martial gods wouldn't have given him the chance to self-destruct the ring. Of course, Lu Changsheng didn't care who got the Xingluo sect secret decree in the ring. He only cared whether the Star Luo sect legacy could be activated as soon as possible. After all, the secret realm is only open to martial artists under 20 years old, and if another 2.5 years passed, Lu Changsheng would no longer be qualified to obtain the legacy. At 18, 9 forces that obtained the Xingluo sect secret decree gathered to discuss how to distribute the subsequent profits after the Star Luo sect legacy was activated. At 19, other top forces with martial gods pressured the 9 forces, demanding that they must share a piece of the pie. Even the Northern Plains barbarian race and the Western desolate Yao race participated. At 20, the various forces reached an agreement, activated the 9 Xingluo sect secret decrees, and the Star Luo sect legacy secret realm appeared. Seeing this, Lu Changsheng finally breathed a sigh of relief. If these guys had continued to squabble for another year or two, he really wouldn't have had a chance, at least not in this simulation. Now he just made it on the last train. However, what Lu Changsheng was worried about was whether these aristocratic families and great sects would only allow their own people to enter. After the Star Luo sect legacy secret realm opened, the 9 forces first sent their own disciples to explore it and brought out the legacy rules. Firstly, the secret realm is only open to human race martial artists under the age of 20 and with a cultivation no lower than the Dao body realm. Secondly, the trial is divided into 9 stages. There are rewards for passing each stage, and only the first prodigy to pass all 9 stages will become the master of the secret realm and obtain the entire Star Luo sect legacy. 95. The peak of magic power, the soul robbery realm. When the Yao race and barbarian race learned that only human race martial artists could enter, they made multiple attempts at the secret realm, but ultimately had no choice but to retreat. The 9 major powers jointly controlled the secret realm entrance. Powers with a martial god could enter for free, while others had to pay an entrance fee of 10,000 origin stones each time they entered. The actions of the 9 major powers caused widespread anger, but as their strength was superior, everyone had to yield. You also spent some time gathering 10,000 origin stones before entering. As long as one could enter the secret realm, it counted as passing the first stage of the trial, and one could receive a reward of 100 origin stones. The second stage was to enter an illusion array and defeat a snake demon whose strength was comparable to a Dao body 7th heaven martial artist. You easily passed and received 300 origin stones as a reward. The third stage was to defeat a tiger demon comparable to a Dao body 9 heavens in an illusion array. You easily passed and received 1000 origin stones as a reward. The fourth stage was to defeat a divine beast cub in an illusion array, whose strength was comparable to a Dharma power realm martial saint who had condensed a heavenly grade Dharma form. Since your peacock great bright king Dharma form was not complete, you regrettably lost and were then teleported out of the secret realm. After leaving the secret realm, you learned from others that the fifth stage was to defeat a divine beast cub, whose strength was comparable to a law fluid realm martial saint who had condensed a heavenly grade Dharma form. Passing this stage allowed one to enter a spirit cleansing pool once to improve their aptitude. Upon hearing this, you secretly sighed, wishing you had another 100 years. As for the trials after the 5 stages, no information had been released yet. To avoid being noticed by Tianji Pavilion experts, you did not linger too long near the secret realm entrance. After gathering some useful information, you quickly departed. Half a month later, you arrived at Longchuan City in Danyang County to cultivate in seclusion, and secretly took control of several merchant associations to earn cultivation resources for yourself. At 22 years old, you exhausted the resources in your storage ring and successfully condensed the 3-armed peacock Great Bright King Dharma form. At 23 years old, the Buddhist Sun Shiyi of Great Luminous Temple passed the 6th stage trial of the Star Luo sect secret realm. You learned that this stage was an aptitude test, specifically testing the inheritor's martial Dao aptitude, which could not be passed by anyone without a saint body or divine body. Soon after, Great Luminous Temple released news again, stating that the 7th stage was a foundation test, which their Buddhist Sun Shiyi was temporarily unable to pass. Even the Buddhist Sun's foundation can't pass. Lu Changsheng was greatly surprised. To be able to defeat a being comparable to a law fluid realm heavenly grade Dharma form divine beast cub before the age of 20, his foundation must have been far superior to Lu Changsheng's. If even such a foundation couldn't pass, Lu Changsheng certainly had no chance. Star Luo sect truly lived up to its reputation as one of the 10 top sects of ancient times. The requirements for selecting a successor were simply outrageously strict. At 26 years old, you broke through to the late stage of the Dharma power realm. In the same year, the Great Sect, Sun Radiance Sect, in Danyang County began a large-scale attack on Divine Moon Sect, shaking Danyang County. At 30 years old, the battle between the two sides reached a fever pitch. To obtain the Ming God martial cannon, you came to the vicinity of Divine Moon Sect and went into hiding. At 31 years old, Divine Moon Sect was utterly defeated and its sect was destroyed. At a critical moment, you intervened and rescued its sect master, Luo Li. Luo Li was severely injured and unconscious. You brought her back to Longchuan City to treat her injuries. 7 days later, Luo Li woke up. To thank you for saving her life, she gave you the Divine Moon martial cannon you desired, and then disappeared. At 32 years old, you condensed the Divine Moon Dharma form. With both the Divine Moon Dharma form and Great Sun Dharma form appearing together, their power surged by dozens of times, comparable to an Earth-grade Dharma form. Moreover, the consumption was far less terrifying than the Peacock Great Bright King Dharma form, making it usable as a regular means. Your strength increased. At 33 years old, one night, the injured Luo Li fled to your home. She had failed in her assassination attempt on Gao Hongyang and escaped with serious injuries. You used the Peacock Great Bright King Dharma form to kill Gao Hongyang, who was pursuing her, and the other members of Sun Radiance Sect were scared away by you. You saved Luo Li again and killed the culprit responsible for the destruction of her sect. Having nothing to repay you with, she could only offer herself. After a simple wedding, you and Luo Li, known as the First Fairy of Danyang, became husband and wife. You spent 3 days and 3 nights in intimate embrace before leaving the wedding bed. Is she really that beautiful? Lu Chengsheng couldn't help but wonder. To stay in bed for 3 days and 3 nights, that's too terrifying. Is she really a beauty, or a succubus reincarnation? At 34 years old, Shen Ping, a true disciple of Tianji Pavilion, successfully cleared the 7th stage of the Star Luo Sect Legacy Secret Realm, but he did not reveal the content of the 8th stage assessment. At 35 years old, Meng Tianj, the Dao child of Fang Xian Sect, became the second person to clear the 7th stage of the Secret Realm. Soon after, he revealed that the 8th stage was a test of comprehension ability. At 36 years old, you felt your strength hit a bottleneck, and you began to refine the Lumo blade, one of the 3 Dharma weapons in your storage ring. At 38 years old, the Lumo blade was initially refined, and you could wield it as if it were an extension of your arm. At 40 years old, Luo Li successfully broke through to the peak of the Fa Dan realm and condensed the Sun and Moon Dharma idol that you taught her. You were very happy. To test her strength, you fought her for 7 days and 7 nights, and finally, only by using a move that directly struck her vital point, did you barely manage to gain an advantage, making her convinced and admit defeat. After the great battle, you were not feeling well either. Your legs were unstable, and it took several days to recover your origin chi. At 46 years old, you successfully stepped into the peak of the Dharma Power realm. At 51 years old, you heard that a peacock true feather had appeared in the Yinshan mountain range. You immediately took Luo Li there, and with the concerted efforts of you and your wife, you successfully snatched the peacock true feather. After returning to Longchuan City and refining it, your Peacock Great Bright King Dharma form successfully condensed a 4th arm, and its power increased once again. At 54 years old, the Sword Child of Astounding Sword Sect successfully cleared the 8th stage of the Star Luo Sect Legacy Secret Realm, but did not reveal any information about the 9th stage. At 57 years old, Luo Li could no longer advance and decided to attempt to impact the Thunder Tribulation Martial God realm. She ultimately died under the Heavenly Tribulation, her divine soul flying away and spirit scattering. You were heartbroken and depressed all day long. At 59 years old, you encountered an itinerant Taoist. The itinerant Taoist told you that Yuming Sect, the most mysterious among the 3 teachings and 6 sects, possessed a method to bring people back from the dead. If you could find Yuming Sect, perhaps you could revive your wife. Upon hearing the itinerant Taoist's words, your spirit was invigorated, and you began to search everywhere for traces of Yuming Sect. At 62 years old, the itinerant Taoist found you again. Based on the clues he provided, you arrived at an ancient ruin. As soon as you entered, a rotten large hand stretched out from underground, grabbed you, and crushed you to death. You died. Thunder Tribulation Martial God. A complex expression flashed in Lu Chengsheng's eyes. For a Thunder Tribulation Martial God, what undergoes tribulation is not the physical body, but the divine soul. Therefore, this realm is also known as the Soul Calamity Realm. And how fragile is the divine soul? A mortal's divine soul, merely from being startled, might lead to them being drowsy all day, or if more severe, even mental derangement, and if even more severe, its soul flying away and spirit scattering. This is why there's a common saying among the populace, scared to death. Although a martial artist's divine soul is much stronger than a mortal's, reaching Tao Body 7th heaven allows for mental energy to be released externally, evolving into various strange abilities, yet it still cannot hide its fragile essence. To attempt to withstand the might of heaven and earth with a fragile divine soul, the consequences are imaginable. For a Faxiong realm martial saint of humble origin, attempting to impact the soul calamity realm basically means certain death. Only the 3 teachings and 6 sects and the major top-tier aristocratic families, who not only possess a large number of divine soul secret techniques but also receive personal guidance from a martial god, will have a slightly higher success rate, but even then, it's still 1 in 100. Luo Li's school, Divine Moon Sect, was merely a medium-sized school that dominated a single county. She probably hadn't even cultivated any powerful divine soul secret arts. Under such circumstances, attempting to undergo tribulation would certainly lead to certain death. 96. Break through the magic liquid realm. Rebuild the Mingxian sect. Of course, the soul calamity realm was still too far away for Lu Chengsheng at present. Currently, he was more concerned with whether he could obtain the legacy of the Star Luo sect. As one of the 10 top sects in ancient times, the Star Luo sect certainly wouldn't lack divine soul secret techniques and undergoing tribulation experience. Even if he took a step back, the Star Luo sect surely wouldn't allow the successor it had painstakingly chosen to easily die under a lightning tribulation. However, Lu Chengsheng was still a bit far from obtaining the legacy. Not to mention the 4th and 5th assessment stages which tested strength, he felt he couldn't pass any of the subsequent stages like aptitude, foundation, and comprehension ability. No, perhaps if his aptitude improved, there might still be hope of passing. But his foundation and comprehension ability were miles apart. Especially comprehension ability. While aptitude and foundation could be improved in the acquired stage, Lu Chengsheng had never even heard of a method to improve comprehension ability. Forget it, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. For now, I should pass the 4th and 5th stages and get a chance to enter the spirit cleansing pool to see what effect it has. Lu Chengsheng didn't continue to dwell on it. Anyway, in reality, opening the legacy secret realm would be at least 2 years later. He had plenty of time to deal with these stages. Simulation ended. You can keep one of the following. 1. Cultivation realm at 62 years old. 2. Cultivation experience at 62 years old. I choose 1. The next moment, Lu Chengsheng felt the Dharma power in his body increase significantly, directly multiplying several times, from 288 strands to 999 strands. The sudden surge of Dharma power even made Lu Chengsheng feel a bloating sensation in his dantian and meridians. Only then did Lu Chengsheng understand why Dharma power needed to condense qi into fluid instead of continuously increasing indefinitely, because too much gaseous Dharma power could really burst a person. In addition to Dharma power, Lu Chengsheng also gained a lot in terms of Dharma forms. First, he condensed the Sun and Moon Dharma idol, which was comparable to an Earth-grade Dharma form, and then the one-armed peacock Great Bright King Dharma form successfully grew 3 more arms. Now with 4 arms simultaneously, Lu Chengsheng could use his mind for 4 things at once. He could unleash 4 attacks at the same time. When Lu Chengsheng went all out, most martial artists in the Fa Dan realm who had only condensed human-grade Dharma forms would not be his opponents. There was a heaven and sea-like gap between heavenly-grade Dharma forms and human-grade Dharma forms. Although the quality of Dharma power of a Fa Dan realm martial artist was many times higher than that of the Dharma power realm, it still couldn't completely bridge this gap. Continue. Let's see if I can pass the 4th stage of the secret realm this time. Cost 3,000 money, balance 1660 money, simulation begins. Money is not enough again. Lu Chengsheng frowned slightly when he saw the latest simulation price, then sighed softly, I hope I can live a bit longer this time. At 17, you prevented Tuoba Dao from self-destructing his storage ring. At 20, the Star Luo sect legacy secret realm officially opened. You paid a 10,000 yuan stone entrance fee and entered. You were unstoppable in the first 3 stages, until in the 4th stage, you encountered a Qilin cub, and the battle began to become difficult. Before your Dharma power was exhausted, you barely killed the Qilin cub with the Peacock King of Brightness and the Sun and Moon Dharma idol, earning 3,000 yuan stone as a reward. In the 5th stage, you lasted less than 10 moves under the claws of an Azure Dragon cub before being defeated and then teleported out of the legacy secret realm. Half a month later, you arrived at the 100 Treasure shop in the outer city of Jinling City, Zhang County, and found that the shopkeeper was still the same person from 3 years ago. So, you performed soul searching on him, wanting to find out what power was behind him, which had previously caused you to flee Jinling City. Through soul searching, you discovered that he was actually an outer sect disciple of the Heavenly Demon sect and was currently serving Yihan, the banner leader of the Leaf of Metal banner of the Heavenly Demon sect's Jinling City branch. He operated this 100 Treasure shop for 2 purposes. One was to scout for wealthy targets for the branch, and the other was to find loose cultivators with a certain level of strength to provide great medicine for the branch's blood refinement ground. The reason he sent people to track you 3 years ago was that you met both conditions. The branch leader, Blood Robe Old Ancestor, even wanted to personally make a move on you, but because you ran too fast, the Blood Robe Old Ancestor came up empty-handed. After you clarified the whole story, you struck the 100 Treasure shop shopkeeper dead with one palm, and then single-handedly stormed the Heavenly Demon sect branch, killed the Blood Robe Old Ancestor, and destroyed the blood refinement pool. When you found Yihan, the banner leader of the Leaf of Metal banner, and were about to kill him, a mysterious old man suddenly appeared and rescued him. Destroying a Heavenly Demon sect branch, although not done by the government directly, was still a great merit for them. The Jinling City Lord warmly entertained you. At the banquet, the City Lord's favored concubine gave you a strange feeling, but you found it inconvenient to say anything, and left Jinling City after the banquet. A month later, you arrived and settled down in Longchuan City, Danyang County. At 24, you began to touch the Law Fluid Realm bottleneck. At 26, the Sun Radiance sect attacked the Divine Moon sect, shaking Danyang County. At 28, you successfully entered the Law Fluid Realm, and your strength greatly increased. At 30, you exhausted the resources in your storage ring and successfully condensed the 6-armed peacock Great Bright King Dharma form. At 31, just as the Sun Radiance sect and the Divine Moon sect were about to fight a decisive battle, you suddenly appeared and suppressed the experts of both sects with your immensely powerful strength. You made them submit to you and wanted to re-establish the Bright Divine sect. At first, the experts of both sects did not agree. After you severely purged the stubborn factions, the experts of both sects finally agreed to revere you. Thus, the Bright Divine sect reappeared in the world, and your first command was for the Bright Divine sect to recuperate. At 41, after 10 years of recuperation, the strength of both sects, damaged by the Great War, had recovered by more than half. Due to the completion of the Ming God martial canon, the strength of the high-ranking members of both sides also increased significantly. Seeing that the time was ripe, you began to expand the Bright Divine sect outwards. At 44, in 3 years, the Bright Divine sect expanded wildly, reaching its peak for a time. However, due to taking too much territory, it incurred the displeasure of the top aristocratic Danyang Mi clan. You wrote a letter and sent someone to the Mi clan, guaranteeing no further expansion of your forces and offering 1/5 of your territory. Only then did the Mi clan not say much. At 46, with the help of the large amount of resources plundered by the Bright Divine sect, you successfully achieved a breakthrough to the middle stage of the Law Fluid realm. At 51, you obtained a peacock true feather from the Yinshan mountain range. After refining it, the Peacock King of Brightness gained another arm. At 54, Gao Hongyang, the vice sect master of the Bright Divine sect, felt that his own strength could not advance further and chose to challenge the Thunder Tribulation martial god. You did not stop him, only watched from afar as he underwent tribulation. Gao Hongyang only lasted for half an incense stick of time in the lightning tribulation before his soul flying away and spirit scattering. You, however, secretly concluded that to barely pass the lightning tribulation, Gao Hongyang's divine soul power needed to be at least 3 times stronger, and to pass the lightning tribulation without harm, it needed to be at least 10 times stronger. Very good, I'll follow this standard from now on. Upon seeing this, Lu Chengsheng's eyes suddenly lit up. What is the most terrifying thing in this world? Of course, the unknown is the most terrifying. Lu Chengsheng used to be completely in the dark about the lightning tribulation, but now he had finally gained some useful experience. The lightning tribulation gradually shed its mysterious veil in his mind and became less terrifying. 97. The protagonist of destiny. Shenzhou is sinking. At 60, you successfully broke through to the Law Fluid realm late stage. At 63, a disciple of the Bright Divine sect offered a Buddhist conch, and after refining it, you finally condensed a complete 8-armed peacock Great Bright King Dharma form. At 65, more and more peerless prodigies passed the 8th trial of the Star Luo sect secret realm, but no one had yet passed the 9th trial. In the same year, a human race prodigy who had defected to the Yao race successfully survived the lightning tribulation, becoming the 9th martial god of the Yao race, causing quite a stir in Great Qin. Countless people cursed him as a human traitor. When you learned his name and origin, you were momentarily silent. He was none other than Yi Han, the banner master of the leaf of metal banner of the heavenly demon sect, who had narrowly escaped death at your hands. At 66, seeing no hope of a short-term breakthrough, you began to refine the 3 Dharma weapons in your storage ring. These 3 Dharma weapons were the Heaven Punishment Sword, the Demon Locking Mirror, and the Lumo Blade, all of which were high-quality Dharma weapons. Even with your current strength, it took you half a year to complete their refinement. At 67, the higher-ups of the 3 teachings and 6 sects and the major top aristocratic families frequently gathered, discussing something unknown. The world was full of unpredictable changes, with a sense of impending storm. At 68, the Thunder Tribulation martial gods of the 3 teachings and 6 sects, under the pretext of the Qin Emperor's tyranny, stormed the imperial city and massacred Shenyang Palace. From then on, with no leader, the world fell into great chaos. At 69, many regions had their own armies and declared themselves kings. Within just 1 year of the Qin Emperor's sudden death, dozens of feudal lords emerged across the land. At 70, the northern barbarians and the western desolate Yao race began a large-scale invasion of the great Qin dynasty. In an instant, the land was shattered, and the divine land fell into ruin. In times of chaos, the bright divine sect also had to find a patron and eventually became a subordinate force of the Danyang Mi clan. At 73, the Yao race army reached the counties surrounding Danyang. The Mi clan was too preoccupied to help themselves, and you planned to relocate the bright divine sect to other counties. However, before you could act, Yi Han, the martial god who had defected to the Yao race, led the Yao race army to surround the bright divine sect. Seeing your panicked expression, Yi Han laughed loudly, saying how arrogant you were back then, and that he was fortunate to have been saved by the Yao race to escape death from your hands. Now, he wanted you to pay for the blood debt. You pretended not to recognize him and asked if there was some misunderstanding. He sneered, Jinling City Heavenly Demon Sect, my name is Yi Han, remember that. After speaking, he struck you dead with a single palm. Before dying, you saw countless bright divine sect disciples become food for the Yao beast. Yi Han, why does this name sound so familiar? In the popular web novels of his previous life, the male protagonists' names followed a pattern, like surnames such as Lin, Yi, or Wang, combined with names like Fan, Feng, or Han, creating a good name. A bad name like Lu Chengsheng clearly didn't have the Fate Master's destiny. So, he let a person with a protagonist's destiny escape, and decades later, he returned to stage a show of 30 years east of the river, 30 years west of the river, for him, right? This Yi Han also said he was saved by the Yao race, which means there's a high probability of Yao race powerhouses in Jinling City. As a major commercial city, Jinling City has a population of several million. Even the Heavenly Demon Sect has a branch here, so it's not surprising that there are hidden Yao race powerhouses. However, in Lu Chengsheng's previous simulations, he lived in Jinling City for decades without discovering any abnormalities. He didn't know if it was luck or misfortune. Or perhaps both sides concealed themselves too well. Especially the Yao race. As long as they wear human skin and use secret techniques to completely suppress their demonic qi, even a human martial saint would find it difficult to detect any abnormalities. Also, the 3 teachings and 6 sects, for some unknown reason, went and massacred Shenyang Palace. Otherwise, the Yao race wouldn't dare to be so arrogant and directly invade human race territory. Since ancestral dragons swept across the 6 directions and 8 desolations, unifying the human race territory, the Great Qin dynasty has been established for 2,000 years. For such a long time, it has been at peace with the 3 teachings and 6 sects, yet who knew that decades later, the 3 teachings and 6 sects would suddenly turn hostile? Besides the 3 teachings and 6 sects, there were also shadows of aristocratic families involved. Didn't they know that doing this would lead to great chaos in the world? They definitely knew. So what made them have reasons that they had to do this? The simulator did not provide clear information. Lu Chengsheng was not surprised by this. The text information displayed by the simulator was all closely related to him. With his strength in the simulator, He obviously couldn't participate in such major events that determined the world's jehu, or even the human race's fate, so the information displayed in the simulator was very vague. Open black lens bracket simulation ended, you can retain one of the following. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket 1, the cultivation realm at 73 years old. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket 2, the cultivation experience at 73 years old. Close black lens bracket. Choose one. This time, it was an improvement of several minor realms, so choosing one was without hesitation. As Lu Changsheng made his choice. Rumble. A majestic and astonishing law power emerged from his body, rapidly flowing through all his meridians, then quickly compressing. The originally gaseous law power slowly transformed into drops of liquid law power. With every breath, a large amount of gaseous law power liquefied, rapidly filling Lu Changsheng's dantian and even the meridians throughout his body. Law fluid realm late stage, achieved. The amount of law power in my body has increased by at least 20 odd times, and the quality of law power has also increased tenfold. Furthermore, I have condensed the complete Peacock Great Bright King Dharma form. 10 of my previous selves wouldn't be enough to fight me now. Lu Changsheng felt the formidable law power within him, a smile appearing on his face. Now, I can be considered a prominent figure in Great Qin, right? Even sects like Sun Radiance Sect and Divine Moon Sect, which dominate a single county, are no longer a match for me. Aside from Fa Dan realm martial saints who have condensed heavenly grade Dharma forms, I am hard to find an opponent in the Faxiong realm. I should now have the strength to pass the 5th trial of the Star Luo Sect secret realm and enter the spirit cleansing pool to improve my aptitude. However, I don't have elemental stones right now, otherwise I could try the effect of the spirit cleansing pool. Indeed, making money is the kingly Tao. Without money, Lu Changsheng felt empty inside and had no desire to work hard. Only with money did he feel secure and full of motivation to cultivate. It's time to deal with the 100 treasure shop, and I can also make a small fortune in elemental stones. And that guy named Yi Han, he must die. Lu Changsheng's gaze was sharp, filled with killing intent. Since this guy with a protagonist name had formed a grudge with him, he had to be eradicated. Otherwise, if he truly escaped to the Yao race's territory, it would undoubtedly lead to endless trouble. Thinking of this, Lu Changsheng no longer hesitated and turned to fly towards Jinling City. He had originally traveled over 200 li away from Jinling City. But for him now, these 200 li were not instantaneous, but only a matter of a few flickers of a finger. Upon reaching Jinling City, he still entered discreetly. He didn't want to alert the enemy. After entering the city, Lu Changsheng headed straight for the 100 treasure shop. Distinguished guest, you're here again. May I ask what kind of business you require this time? On the 3rd floor of the shop, when shopkeeper Wang saw Lu Changsheng again, surprise filled his eyes. After he reported Lu Changsheng, this great medicine, the branch's experts had been searching for Lu Changsheng's whereabouts but found nothing. He had almost given up hope, who knew he would deliver himself to their doorstep again. It was truly a case of seeking far and wide, only to find it effortlessly. Shopkeeper Wang's heart blossomed with joy. The only thing that made him uneasy was that the Dharma array in the shop couldn't detect Lu Changsheng's cultivation. One must know that this Dharma array could detect anyone below the martial saint realm and had never made a mistake. However, this was a minor issue. It was probably just that the Dharma array was broken. After all, only half a day had passed. Could this person's strength have surged to the human martial saint realm? Now, how to capture him was the most important thing. So, while secretly sending someone to report, he was also thinking about how to keep Lu Changsheng stable. 98. Searching souls and looting, Xuanyi division is violent. Lu Changsheng smiled and said, I came for you this time. For me, shopkeeper Wang was startled, then smiled and said, guest, don't joke. I'm so old, and you're still making fun of me. Lu Changsheng stood up from his seat and walked towards shopkeeper Wang. I'm not joking. I am indeed very fond of you, but what I'm fond of is your brain. As he spoke, Lu Changsheng's large hand, like an iron clamp, firmly grasped shopkeeper Wang's head and began to search his divine soul. Shopkeeper Wang's body trembled like a sieve, and blood began to flow from his 7 orifices. Ah, the maid serving nearby had grown up in Jinling City and had never seen such a scene. She immediately screamed and ran downstairs. Lu Changsheng ignored her and quickly obtained all the information he wanted from shopkeeper Wang's mind. with his current late-stage law fluid realm and a divine soul power far surpassing others of the same rank. Not to mention shopkeeper Wang's memories after joining the heavenly demon sect, he could even see the memories of him wetting his pants as a child clearly. Of course, Lu Changsheng had no special preferences, he only looked at information useful to him. Heavenly Demon Sect Branch, Blood Robe Old Ancestor, Leaf of Metal Banner Master Yi Han, Mysterious Black Guard. After the Divine Soul Search, Lu Changsheng successfully obtained all information related to Yi Han. Yi Han actually had two identities. He was both shopkeeper Wang's direct superior, the master of the Leaf of Metal Banner among the 5 elements banners of the Heavenly Demon Sect Branch. He was also a 100 household of the mysterious Black Guard in Jinling City. Of course, he joined the Heavenly Demon Sect first, then the mysterious Black Guard, otherwise he would not have been qualified to become a banner master. According to shopkeeper Wang's memory, Yi Han was only 25 years old this year, yet he was already in the Dao Body Realm 7th Heaven, and held high positions in both the Heavenly Demon Sect branch and the mysterious Black Guard branch simultaneously, which was quite astonishing. In addition to his strength and status, Yi Han's romantic luck was also continuous. The eldest daughter of the Yang family, the largest clan in Jinling City, the city lord's second daughter, the apple of the eye of mysterious Black Guard 1000 household Yao Guang, and the master of the water banner of the Heavenly Demon Sect branch, all had ambiguous relationships with him. Among them, the Yang family's eldest daughter even publicly declared that she would marry no one but Yi Han. Upon seeing this, Lu Changsheng almost ground his back teeth. Of course, it wasn't due to jealousy, but because all signs indicated that Yi Han indeed had the protagonist script, or at the very least, was someone protected by great luck. Moreover, he had long set his sights on himself, intending to use him as a great medicine to offer to the Blood Robe Old Ancestor. Since they were enemies, a son of luck like Yi Han must die. After shopkeeper Wang's death, Lu Changsheng went to the 100 Treasure Shop's warehouse. However, he found that there were not as many spirit stones as he had imagined, only over 17,000. After recharging all of them, Lu Changsheng selected some relatively valuable items and put them into his storage ring. There were too many other things, the storage ring couldn't hold them all, and outside the warehouse, 2 floors were still filled with goods. It would be too wasteful to burn so many things. Lu Changsheng stroked his chin, pondered for a moment, and suddenly thought that there were more than a dozen other shops on this street. Why not sell to them? Without further ado, Lu Changsheng quickly brought over the owners of the other shops like little chickens. He also discussed with them that as long as they gathered 100,000 spirit stones, he would sell them the shop and all the goods at a low price. These shop owners all had mournful faces and dared not buy. These were all stolen goods that Lu Changsheng had robbed. Even if they bought them, the mysterious Black Guard would reclaim them. Besides, all these things combined weren't worth 100,000 spirit stones, 70 to 80,000 spirit stones would be the maximum. If they bought them back, even if the government didn't confiscate them, they would suffer a huge loss. Seeing them all making excuses, Lu Changsheng gave them a good dose of righteous iron fist education, and they finally came to their senses, willing to pay to buy these things. At the same time, Lu Changsheng was deeply moved by his own conscience. He could clearly rob them, yet he still chose to sell things to them, benefiting both sides. What else could this be but conscience? The saint of mind learning in his previous life said, attain innate knowledge. Lu Changsheng felt that he had been deeply practicing these 3 words. As soon as the spirit stones were in hand, Lu Changsheng left feeling refreshed, leaving behind a group of shop owners who wanted to cry but had no tears. Report to the officials, we must report to the officials. I, old Wu have been running a shop for so many years, and I've never suffered such a loss as today. A tall, red-faced man shouted, craning his neck. That's right, we must make him spit out our spirit stones. The red-faced man waved his arm, and a crowd gathered, all united in their hatred as they walked towards the mysterious Black Guard headquarters. This was the most prosperous area of the outer city, and the mysterious Black Guard headquarters, where the mysterious Black Guard was located, was not far from here, only 2 streets away. When the group of shop owners arrived at the mysterious Black Guard headquarters, they saw from afar that the fierce man from before was already standing at the main entrance of the mysterious Black Guard headquarters. Where is your 100 household Yi Han? How powerful was Lu Changsheng's divine soul power now? When fully extended, it could sweep over everything within a 3-mile radius. Given the area of the mysterious Blackguard headquarters, it had naturally been swept over by Lu Changsheng on his way there, but he had not found the figure from shopkeeper Wang's memory. Who are you? What right do you have to inquire about our 100 household Yi Han's whereabouts? The mysterious Blackguard on duty at the gate was already in a bad mood, and upon hearing this, he directly rolled his eyes. You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Lu Changsheng snorted coldly, extended his right palm, and a powerful suction burst forth from his palm, directly pulling the head of the taunting mysterious Blackguard into his hand, and began to search his divine soul. Let go of my brother. The nearest mysterious Blackguard, seeing this, immediately drew his mysterious Blackguard standard Black Sparrow saber and slashed it down towards Lu Changsheng. Lu Changsheng merely extended his left hand and flicked it lightly, and the Black Sparrow saber traced an arc in the air, splitting back at an even faster speed than it came, cleaving the mysterious Blackguard's head in two. Murder! Murder! The remaining two mysterious Blackguard guards were completely terrified, shouting, Murder! Murder! As they ran inside in a panic. They had been in the mysterious Blackguard for over a decade, and this was the first time they had seen someone dare to kill at the entrance of the mysterious Blackguard headquarters. And the group of shop owners in the distance, who were preparing to report to the officials, were also dumbfounded, not expecting Lu Changsheng to be so lawless as to kill even a mysterious Blackguard member. Still reporting to the officials? Someone asked with a trembling voice. Everyone was speechless. Still reporting to the officials. Isn't that just offering themselves up? Just wait. He killed someone at the mysterious Blackguard headquarters. The mysterious Blackguard will definitely not let him go. Old Wu said fiercely. Everyone thought it made sense, so they stayed put, preparing to watch the mysterious Blackguard adults display their divine might. Wei Chun Alley, isn't that where I stayed last night? I didn't expect this Yi Han guy to investigate so quickly. Lu Changsheng released the head, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. Since you're so eager to die, I'll have to send you on your way. Subsequently, Lu Changsheng's figure vanished from the spot. Bastard! How dare you commit violence at the mysterious Blackguard headquarters? No matter who you are, I will skin you alive. When mysterious Blackguard Thousand Household Yao Guang came out with a large group of subordinates, he only saw two gruesome corpses on the ground, and he was so enraged that his lungs almost exploded. How many years had it been since anyone dared to provoke the mysterious Blackguard like this? Where is Yi Han? Yao Guang asked. A subordinate immediately replied, a quarter of an hour ago. This subordinate heard 100 household Yi say he was going to Wei Chun Alley to investigate a suspect. Let's go. Yao Guang directly led his subordinates to Wei Chun Alley. Since that person came looking for Yi Han, he would certainly go there as well. Leaving aside that Yi Han was a trusted subordinate he had personally promoted, just based on that person's serious provocation, Yao Guang would never let him go. 99. Killing and killing, the Bone Throne. The mysterious Blackguard's commander has personally taken action, that person definitely can't escape. The group of shop owners in the distance, seeing this scene, were invigorated and immediately followed secretly to watch the excitement. As Great Qin's strongest internal enforcement agency, the mysterious Blackguard's accumulated prestige over countless years had undoubtedly deeply permeated people's hearts. The mysterious Blackguard's highest official in Jinling City had personally come out, so where else could that villain escape to? Return to Spring Alley. Yi Han was currently interrogating the landlord who rented the house to Lu Changsheng. So, that person used someone else's identification to rent your courtyard? Yi Han said coldly. This humble one was blinded by greed at the time and didn't carefully distinguish. I beg for your excellency's forgiveness. The landlord's family of three knelt on the ground, trembling. Regarding renting, Qin law has clear stipulations. Those who use another person's identification to rent a house, whether tenant or landlord, must serve 10 years or more of labor, and the landlord's rented property will also be confiscated by the government. In fact, many laws had long ceased to be strictly enforced among the common people, and the government also turned a blind eye. However, once they were taken seriously, it became deadly. Especially since this person was a mysterious Blackguard captain, it was even more lethal. Yi Han looked at the three terrified individuals and said in a chilling voice, as long as you fully cooperate with me to find the tenant, I can have your punishment, otherwise. Otherwise, what? A white-clothed youth suddenly appeared on the scene and said with a smile. And the landlord, seeing this youth, looked as if he had seen a savior, pointing at him and loudly exclaiming, it's him, it's him, it's him. He's the tenant your excellency is looking for. Yi Han scrutinized Lu Changsheng, finding him unremarkable and unable to discern any background, which secretly alarmed him. This person's qi concealment technique was indeed remarkable. And Lu Changsheng was also scrutinizing Yi Han, observing his blackfish robe, black sparrow saber at his waist, sword-like brows, starry eyes, serious demeanor, and righteous aura. Anyone who saw him would praise him as a fine young man. Tisk tisk, with that appearance, no wonder he can charm so many girls. Lu Changsheng stroked his chin, looking at Yi Han, clicking his tongue in wonder. Yi Han's subordinates, seeing Lu Changsheng's frivolousness, couldn't help but want to reprimand him, but Yi Han stopped them. According to intelligence, this person before him was a great cultivator of the Tao body 9th heaven, and Yi Han himself was only at the Tao body 7th heaven, so he was not his opponent. Angering him was not a good strategy, being able to intimidate him with this official identity was the best strategy. So Yi Han cupped his hands and said, "Your Excellency, using another person's identification to rent a house violates Qin law. Please come with us to the mysterious blackguard office." All right, Lu Changsheng surprisingly did not refuse. Instead, he smiled mysteriously, "But you have to give me something first." "What? Your life?" With that, Lu Changsheng suddenly made his move, raising his hand and throwing a punch. This punch was unadorned, but its power was astonishing, like the awakening of a primordial beast or the descent of a martial god into the human world. The might of one punch. The void realm exploded. A tremendous fist force slammed into Yi Han's body, a layer of green light suddenly appeared on his surface. But this layer of green light lasted less than a breath before shattering like a mirror. The remaining less than 10% of the fist force sent him flying. In midair, his body continuously exploded, the sound of his meridians rupturing. Even with only 10% of its power, it shattered Yi Han's meridians and exploded his dantian. When he fell to the ground, all of Yi Han's martial arts were crippled. Aside from using brute force, he was a useless person unable to cultivate. Yi Han made a gurgling sound in his throat, his eyes staring at Lu Changsheng in disbelief. The secret treasure Hu Miniang gave him, wasn't it supposed to completely block even a human martial saint's attack? Why was it shattered by this person's single punch? Could it be that that bitch had been deceiving him all along? He's not dead. Lu Changsheng was slightly surprised. This punch of his concentrated all his power into one point, requiring even a human martial saint of the same level to fully resist, and anyone below a human martial saint would certainly die. He didn't expect Yi Han to survive. Indeed, people with protagonist names are not that easy to kill. Just as Lu Changsheng took a step forward, preparing to strike again, a huge cross-shaped saber chi swept across the void realm, slashing towards Lu Changsheng. Cross saber art. This was the mysterious blackguard commander Yao Guang's famous ultimate skill. Perhaps he could be saved. Yi Han's face revealed a look of excitement. A mysterious blackguard. Lu Changsheng merely extended his palm, covered in magical power, and easily crushed the cross-shaped saber chi. With this block, Yao Guang arrived at the scene with his subordinates. "May I ask, this human martial saint senior, why do you attack my mysterious blackguard personnel?" Yao Guang was originally overbearing, but seeing Lu Changsheng casually deflect his full power slash, he instantly had to retract his arrogance and become respectful. "I kill because I want to. Do I need to explain it to you?" Seeing that it was Yi Han's reinforcements, Lu Changsheng didn't waste words, pointing a finger. The intense magical power formed a saber chi, instantly piercing through Yao Guang's head. "How dare you!" Yao Guang roared, then fell to the ground with a thud, dead. "Commander, the commander has been killed by him." The mysterious blackguard members were horrified. Behind them stood the imperial court, and even a human martial saint had to give them some face. Even the shop owners who were secretly following from a distance to watch the excitement looked on in disbelief at this scene. Even a prominent figure like Yao Guang, this person killed him just like that. What was this person's background? How could he act so recklessly when fighting? Unfortunately, this was only the beginning. Subsequently, Lu Changsheng was seen soaring into the air, his magical power forming a fiery red net that spread out, completely crushing all the mysterious blackguard members who had come with Yao Guang into minced meat. Just as Yi Han thought he was doomed to die, a thick, viscous blood suddenly surged from underground, enveloping him and blocking the magical power net for him. The blood made a hissing sound under the burning of the magical power net. Soon, more and more blood surged from underground, submerging the magical power net, as if to turn the place into a sea of blood. Only where Lu Changsheng stood was the last pure land. Hundreds of corpses on the ground, including the landlord's family of 3, who had fainted from Lu Changsheng's brutal methods, and the shop owners who had secretly watched the excitement but were scared half to death. All were silently swallowed by the sea of blood, becoming its nourishment. Before long, a bone throne rose from the sea of blood. On the bone throne sat a gaunt old man wearing a blood-colored human skin robe. Yi Han stood beside him with a look of having escaped a disaster, respectfully saying, "Thank you, Altar Master, for saving me." The blood-robe old ancestor nodded, looked at Lu Changsheng, and said with a solemn expression, "Yi Han is a banner master of my heavenly demon sect. I wonder if your excellency can give my heavenly demon sect some face." Face? Who was it that wanted to use me as a great medicine before, and now hypocritically asks me for face? Doesn't it make you sick? Lu Changsheng sneered coldly. The blood-robe old ancestor's face sank. "So you knew. My heavenly demon sect was indeed in the wrong first in this matter. I am willing to compensate your excellency, what do you think?" If not necessary, he really didn't want to fight a human martial saint. A Tao body realm martial artist, even a Tao body 9th heaven, he could kill silently. But after generating magical power, a martial artist's strength would undergo a qualitative leap. Even a martial artist who had just entered the Faxiong realm, the blood-robe old ancestor would not be able to subdue in just a few moves. And once martial saints fought, the commotion would be very large, easily exposing his identity. Therefore, the blood-robe old ancestor tried his best to negotiate. 100. The sun and the moon shine together, the death of the blood-robe patriarch. Compensation: if I kill you, I will only gain more. Lu Changsheng shook his head. As he spoke, divine light burst forth from his entire body, filling this space between heaven and earth with golden divine light, enveloping blood-robe old ancestor and Yi Han. Unbeknownst to them, a golden great sun rose from the sea of blood. The golden light was scorching, instantly evaporating the sea of blood. Blood-robe old ancestor grabbed Yi Han, who had become a cripple, preventing him from falling from midair. Law fluid realm late stage. Blood-robe old ancestor's expression changed slightly as he looked at Lu Changsheng, then he sneered, "His realm is not beneath mine, but how can a mere human-grade Dharma idol contend with my earth-grade Dharma idol?" The boundless sea of blood, sweeping across the world. Blood-robe old ancestor threw Yi Han aside, waved both hands, and a vast sea of blood surged from the void realm, roaring down, instantly enveloping the golden great sun. At the same time, endless evil chi soared into the sky, making half of Jinling City feel a chill down their spines. Seeing Lu Changsheng unwilling to back down, blood-robe old ancestor also went all out. If he could devour this human martial saint today, he would have enough foundation to break through to the Fa Dan realm. As for this heavenly demon sect branch, he could do without it. What powerful evil chi! Is this the heavenly demon sect's blood rage divine art? In the core urban area, Ancestor Yang Wu, stepped out and appeared in midair. Outside the city, a sea of blood swept across the sky. Within the sea of blood, countless white bones floated and sank, as if hell had descended upon the human world. Another demonic brat from the heavenly demon sect. In a dilapidated temple outside the city, the scabby monk, who had been sleeping soundly, suddenly awoke, glanced towards Jinling City, and his bloated body vanished from its original spot. Human-grade Dharma idol, have you ever heard of sun and moon radiance? Lu Changsheng smiled indifferently. As he spoke, the light in half of Jinling City suddenly dimmed. A bright moon appeared in the sky, overshadowing the light of the great sun above. As soon as the bright moon emerged, the golden great sun, enveloped by the sea of blood, increased its power tenfold, directly breaking through the sea of blood's blockade and standing opposite the bright moon. At this moment, the common people of Jinling City witnessed a strange sight. One side of the sky shone with dazzling light, scorching and hot, the other side was dim and cold, as if the ground was covered with a layer of frost. Then, the two colors of light, one gold and one silver, slowly merged, and a hint of purple light began to form within them. Danger! Facing the sudden change in Lu Changsheng's Dharma idol, a warning flashed through blood-robe old ancestor's heart. This seems to be the sun and moon radiance recorded in the long-lost Ming God martial canon. Seeing this scene of sun and moon interchanging, creating heaven and earth, Ancestor Yang Wu, speculated in his heart. Although he had never witnessed this move personally, at his current realm, he could already discern many things. Old Yang, who do you think will win between these two? Ying Hengguang, the city lord of Jinling City, also appeared in midair. Although his realm was only Dao Body 8th heaven, not a human martial saint, as the city lord of Jinling City, his status was noble and prominent, and Yang Wu dared not slight him. Hard to say, hard to say. Yang Wu stroked his beard and chuckled. No matter which side he said had the advantage, Ying Hengguang would find an excuse to make him go up and help suppress the heavenly demon sect martial saint, so it was better to play dumb. Ying Hengguang heard Yang Wu's words and secretly curled his lips. With his wisdom, he naturally understood that this old fox wanted to stay out of the matter. In the battlefield, as Lu Changsheng unleashed the Sun and Moon Dharma idol, waves of crisis surged, threatening to drown Blood Robe Old Ancestor. Blood Rage Pagoda. In the midst of the crisis, Blood Robe Old Ancestor formed a seal with his left hand and took out a large banner with his right hand, from which evil chi surged wildly. A large amount of blood evil chi, guided by his left hands, pagoda seal, poured into the sea of blood. In a short while, the sea of blood transformed into a towering, blood-colored giant. The blood-colored giant beat its chest and roared, then reached out to grasp the converging Sun and Moon Dharma idol in the sky. At this moment, the great Sun Dharma form and the divine Moon Dharma idol had completed their overlap, transforming into a purple blade wheel that fiercely slashed towards the blood-colored giant. Boom! The blood-colored giant collided with the purple blade wheel, like a solar explosion, emitting a tremendous shock that threatened to rupture people's eardrums. Astonishing energy burst forth from the collision point, forming a massive chi wave that swept half of Jinling City with strong winds, sending sand and stones flying. What terrifying power! Martial artists watching from afar murmured in low voices, the scene before them was truly shocking. Below the battlefield, a massive crater several hundred meters in diameter appeared, surrounded by more than a dozen huge cracks extending into the distance. Fortunately, the house Lu Changsheng rented was in a relatively secluded location. If it had been in a bustling urban area, the aftermath of the battle alone could have caused tens of thousands of casualties. Gradually, the dust in the large crater settled. Everyone moved a little closer, only to see a bloody, indistinct figure within. Who else could it be but Blood Robe Old Ancestor? At this time, Blood Robe Old Ancestor was a gruesome sight, with not a single intact spot on his entire body. If not for the slight rise and fall of his chest and the movement of his eyeballs, no one would have believed he was still alive. Blood Robe Old Ancestor's throat moved, as if he wanted to say something, but no sound came out. Everyone could only read two words from his lip movements: spare me. This couldn't help but make everyone sigh. Blood Robe Old Ancestor had committed numerous heinous crimes in the past. To break through to the martial saint realm, he had even brutally massacred over a dozen counties, ranking 21st on Great Qin's most wanted list. For so many years, he had lived a carefree life. Who would have thought that he would end up in such a state in Jinling City today? However, since Blood Robe Old Ancestor originated from the heavenly demon sect, it was one thing for this mysterious white-robed martial saint to defeat him, but would he truly dare to strike a fatal blow? And Lu Changsheng directly answered their doubts with his actions. Lu Changsheng extended his right palm, and a scorching golden light erupted from its center, like a small sun pressing down on Blood Robe Old Ancestor. Boom! Under the terrifying energy fluctuation, Blood Robe Old Ancestor let out a muffled groan and instantly turned to ashes, scattering into powder. Phew! Seeing that Lu Changsheng had truly struck a fatal blow, City Lord Ying Hengguang let out a sigh of relief as if a heavy burden had been lifted. Leaving a half-dead Blood Robe Old Ancestor would have truly put him in a dilemma. If he didn't kill him, it would be difficult to account to the imperial court. If he killed him, the madmen of the heavenly demon sect would definitely pursue him relentlessly. Now that the person had been killed by Lu Changsheng, it was truly most to his liking. Next, he would take the credit, and the white-robed martial saint would bear the blame. It was truly killing two birds with one stone. Oh, right, where is that senior martial saint now? As the parent official of Jinling City, Ying Hengguang felt that since Lu Changsheng had removed the major hidden danger of Blood Robe Old Ancestor for Jinling City, he at least had to thank him. But when he regained his senses and looked around, Lu Changsheng was nowhere to be seen. Where are the heavenly demon sect demons? When the scabby monk arrived here, panting, he saw nothing but a large crater. He had heard the commotion and rushed over from outside the city. It had only been a dozen breaths, right? It was over so quickly. Yang Wu was momentarily stunned when he saw the scabby monk, then he stepped forward and said with a smile, "Great Master Pudding, you're late." The heavenly demon sect's blood-robe old ancestor has already been killed. It was blood-robe old ancestor who died. The scabby monk was secretly astonished. He had been expelled from the great luminous temple precisely because of the heavenly demon sect's demon schemes, so he harbored deep hatred for them. However, it seemed he truly couldn't defeat blood-robe old ancestor. Fortunately, other experts were present, otherwise, if he had acted impulsively, he might have just come to his own demise. It was just that the expert seemed to have already left, and he had no chance to meet him. Just as the scabby monk was feeling quite regretful, a wave of demonic chi 10 times more terrifying than blood-robe old ancestor's aura soared into the sky.